standing in the doorway of my childhood home with two garbage bags containing everything I owned. I watched my mother's face twist with disgust. "You chose a rotting shack over your own sister," she spat, slamming the door in my face. The $900 I'd saved for 3 years was supposed to fund Madison's spiritual healing retreat in Sedona. Instead, I'd bought the abandoned Victorian on Maple Street that everyone called the murder house. My family called me selfish. The truth was far more complicated. The nightmare started 3 weeks earlier on an ordinary Tuesday evening. I'd arrived at my parents' house for what I thought would be our usual weekly dinner. The dining room smelled like Mom's famous pot roast, and everything seemed normal until I noticed the formal table setting. We only used the good china for special occasions. "Sit down, Dianne," my father said, his voice carrying that careful tone he used during serious conversations. My younger sister, Madison, sat across from me, her eyes puffy from recent crying. My brother Tyler lounged in his chair, scrolling through his phone with practiced indifference. "We need to discuss something important." Mom began folding her hands on the pristine tablecloth. "It's about Madison's future." Madison straightened in her chair, suddenly animated. "I've found the answer to everything," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "There's this amazing spiritual healing retreat in Sedona. It's a 10-day intensive program for energy healing certification." I nodded politely, waiting for the punchline. Madison had a history of discovering life-changing solutions that never quite panned out. Last year, it was crystal therapy. The year before, past life regression. "That sounds interesting," I offered carefully. "It's more than interesting," Madison insisted. "This could finally help me break the cycle. You know how hard it's been since Brandon left." Brandon was boyfriend number 5 in as many years. Each relationship followed the same pattern: intense, beginning dramatic, middle devastating end. Madison always emerged convinced she was the victim of cosmic injustice. "The program costs $900, Tyler said, finally looking up from his phone, "which is actually really reasonable for what you get." Something cold settled in my stomach. "That's quite an investment." "Which is why we're having this discussion," Dad said. "We've already researched everything. The retreat center has excellent reviews. Madison deserves this chance to heal." "I'm happy to help look over the information," I began, but Mom cut me off. "We've done more than look, sweetheart. We've already reserved Madison's spot." The cold feeling spread. "You've already booked it." "We had to move fast," Madison explained. "There were only 2 spaces left. The session starts next month." "That's wonderful," I said slowly. "How are you planning to pay for it?" The room went quiet. 4 pairs of eyes turned to me with expectation. "Well," Mom said, her voice taking on that sugar-sweet tone she used when she wanted something, "we know you've been saving money. You're always so responsible with your finances." My hand instinctively moved to my purse as if protecting the bank card inside. 3 years of overtime shifts, skipped vacations, and grocery store ramen to save that $900. "You want me to pay for Madison's retreat?" "Not want," Tyler corrected. "Need. You're the only one with savings." "I have that money earmarked for something specific," I said carefully. Madison's face crumpled. "What could be more important than your sister's mental health? Do you want me to stay broken forever?" "Of course not, but..." "Then it's settled," Dad said with finality. "Family helps family. That's what we do." I looked around the table at their expectant faces. "Can we at least discuss this? Maybe Madison could save up, or we could all contribute." "There's no time," Madison interrupted. "The retreat is next month. Besides, I can't save money when I can barely function. You don't understand what it's like to carry this pain." "Everyone has pain," I said quietly. "Not like mine," Madison shot back. "You've always had it easy. Good job, no drama, no broken hearts. The least you could do is help me when I need it." Mom reached across the table to pat Madison's hand. "Your sister has always been sensitive, Dianne. We need to support her journey." "What about my journey?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Tyler snorted. What journey? You've been sitting on that money for years. At least Madison wants to use it for something meaningful. You don't know what I'm saving for, I said, heat rising in my cheeks. Probably something practical and boring, Madison said with a dismissive wave. Like a new car or furniture. This is about healing, Dianne. About transformation. I mentioned that I'd been looking at a property, just testing the waters. Tyler's reaction was swift and harsh. Property? Are you serious? He leaned forward, his face twisted with disbelief. Your sister is suffering, and you're thinking about real estate. It's not just any property. I started, but he wouldn't let me finish. I don't care if it's the Taj Mahal. How can you be so heartless? Madison needs this retreat. She needs to heal, and you're sitting there clutching your money like some kind of miser. The word stung. Miser. Is that what they thought of me? The responsible one who worked double shifts and saved every penny. I'm not a miser, I said quietly. I just have different priorities. The selfish priorities, Madison spat. I should have known you wouldn't help. You've never really cared about me. That's not true. Then prove it, Mom challenged. Show us that family means something to you. The walls seemed to close in. 4 against 1, the family tribunal passing judgment. My phone buzzed in my purse, and I glanced at it gratefully for the distraction. An email from the county tax office about the Maple Street property. Final auction in 3 days. I need to think about this, I said, standing up from the table. There's nothing to think about, Dad said firmly. Madison needs this money more than you need whatever scheme you're cooking up. Scheme. Like I was planning something devious instead of trying to build a future. That's when Madison delivered the killing blow. She pulled out her phone and showed me an email from the retreat center. I already told them the payment would be wired tomorrow. She said, her voice small and manipulative. I used your name as the financial guarantor. I knew you'd come through for me. You always do the right thing in the end. My hands shook as I read the email. There it was, in black and white. Thank you, Ms. Dianne Morrison, for agreeing to sponsor Madison Morrison's healing journey. You used my name without asking. I knew you'd say yes, Madison said, tears streaming down her face. You have to say yes. I already told everyone I was going. If you back out now, I'll look like a fool. You had no right. Wait. Mom stood up her chair, scraping against the floor. Let's talk about rights. Madison has the right to heal. She has the right to her family's support. What you're doing right now? It's cruel. I'm being cruel. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Madison commits fraud using my name, and I'm the cruel one. Don't be dramatic, Tyler said. It's not fraud when it's family. Stop acting like a victim. The irony nearly choked me. Madison, who had spent the entire dinner painting herself as the ultimate victim, was being protected while I was being painted as the villain for wanting to keep my own money. I need to leave, I said, grabbing my purse. Don't you dare walk out that door, Mom warned. We're not finished here. But I was finished. Completely and utterly finished with being the family ATM, the responsible one who was expected to sacrifice everything while receiving nothing in return. The payment is due tomorrow, Madison called after me. The retreat center will be expecting it. I paused at the doorway, my hand on the knob. Then I guess they'll be disappointed. Dianne. My father's voice boomed across the room. If you walk out that door without agreeing to help your sister, you're walking out on this family. I turned to face them one last time. 4 faces stared back at me with varying degrees of anger, disappointment, and manipulation. No, I said quietly. This family walked out on me the moment you decided my dreams were less important than Madison's whims. I left to the sound of Madison's theatrical sobbing and my mother's threats echoing behind me. As I sat in my car in the driveway, my hands shaking too badly to start the engine, I realized this wasn't really about the money. It was about patterns. Years and years of patterns where I gave and they took where I saved, and they spent where I planned and they demanded. The $900 wasn't just money. It was 3 years of my life, 3 years of saying no to myself so I could say yes to something bigger. My phone buzzed with text after text. Madison begging, Mom threatening, Dad disappointed, Tyler calling me names I didn't know he knew. I turned off my phone and started the car. As I drove away from my childhood home, I didn't know that I'd never really return. Not as the same person, anyway. The family meeting that was supposed to guilt me into submission had instead shown me the chains I'd been wearing for years. They wanted my money for Madison's retreat, but what they'd really done was push me toward my own transformation. Just not the kind they'd expected. I drove without destination, my mind spinning with fury and hurt. The familiar streets of our small Ohio town blurred past my windshield as tears I refused to shed burned behind my eyes. How many times had I driven these roads running errands for Mom, picking up Madison from another failed job, lending Tyler gas money he never repaid? The gas gauge nudged toward empty, forcing me to pull into the station on Maple Street. As I filled my tank, my eyes landed on the Victorian house that had captured my imagination for months. 3 stories of peeling paint and broken shutters, wrapped in overgrown vines like nature's attempt to reclaim what humans had abandoned. Everyone called it the murder house, though no one could agree on the details. Some said a woman was killed there in the 60s. Others claimed it was a suicide in the 80s. The stories grew more elaborate with each telling until the house became less reality and more urban legend. But I knew the truth. I'd researched it extensively at the library, poring over old newspapers and property records during my lunch breaks. Mrs. Eleanor Whitman, 93 years old, had passed peacefully in her sleep in 2005. No murder, no suicide, just an elderly woman who died in the bed she'd shared with her late husband for 60 years. The "for sale by county" sign had been there so long the wood had weathered to gray, $900. The exact amount sitting in my savings account. The number had seemed like fate when I first saw it 6 months ago. Standing there at the gas pump, still shaking from the ambush at dinner, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of driving home to my small apartment, I pulled into the Victorian's crumbling driveway. Up close, the house was even more magnificent in its decay. Queen Anne-style architecture with a wraparound porch decorative gingerbread trim hanging by threads and a tower room that must have once commanded views of the entire neighborhood. The windows were mostly intact, their wavy glass reflecting the setting sun like dozens of golden eyes. The front door stood slightly ajar, probably forced open by teenagers or urban explorers. I pushed it wider, the hinges screaming in protest. The smell hit me first. Mustiness mixed with old wood and something else, something that reminded me of my grandmother's house. Not decay, but dormancy, like the house had been holding its breath waiting. The foyer took my breath away despite the dust and cobwebs. Original hardwood floors stretched beneath layers of dirt. An elaborate staircase curved upward, its banister carved with intricate flowers and vines. Afternoon light streamed through stained glass panels beside the door, painting rainbow patterns across the walls. I used my phone's flashlight to navigate deeper into the house. The living room featured a massive fireplace with hand-painted tiles depicting seasons. Spring, summer, fall, winter, each rendered in fading but still beautiful detail. Built-in bookcases lined the walls, their shelves empty but sturdy. In what must have been the dining room, an elaborate chandelier hung from a ceiling medallion, crystals gray with dust but intact. I could imagine dinner parties here, laughter echoing off the high ceilings, candlelight dancing in those crystals. The kitchen was a disaster of broken cabinets and missing appliances, but the bones were good. Original tile backsplash peeked through layers of grime. A butler's pantry connected to a breakfast nook with built-in benches beneath windows overlooking the tangled garden. As I climbed the groaning stairs, testing each step carefully, my phone's light caught something tucked into the newel post. An envelope yellowed with age, with "To whoever comes next" written in shaky handwriting. My heart hammered as I carefully extracted the letter. The paper felt fragile, like it might crumble at my touch. Inside, spidery writing covered a single page. Dear future owner, if you're reading this, then the house has called to you as it once called to us. My mother brought me here as a young bride in 1932, when the Depression had taken everything except hope. This house saved us. My husband had lost his job, we had nothing, and my parents offered us shelter here when they could barely feed themselves. In the darkest days when we had no coal for heat and barely any food, this house provided. The garden gave us vegetables. The fruit trees in back fed us through summer. The root cellar kept our preserves safe through winter. We raised 6 children in these rooms, each one learning that homes aren't just buildings. They're promises we make to the future. I'm leaving this note because I believe houses choose their people. If you're here, if you're reading this, then perhaps you need saving too. Look in the basement behind the stone that's darker than the others. My daughter Susan thinks I'm foolish, but I've left something for you. This house gave us everything when we had nothing. Maybe it can do the same for you. Trust the house. It has good bones. With Hope Eleanor Whitman. I stood there in the fading light letter, trembling in my hands. Mrs. Whitman had died 20 years ago, but her words felt immediate, urgent, meant specifically for me. How long had this letter waited? How many people had walked through here without finding it? Practically running now, I descended to the basement. The fieldstone foundation looked solid despite decades of neglect. My phone's light swept across the walls until I found it one stone darker than the rest, near the northwest corner. The stone wiggled when I pushed it. Behind it, wrapped in oilcloth, was a metal box. Inside, my light revealed original architectural drawings of the house dated 1890. But these weren't just any blueprints. They showed hidden features: a dumbwaiter system, speaking tubes between rooms, a secret room behind the tower stairs, and what looked like a tunnel entrance in the basement's east wall. Beneath the drawings lay photographs of the house in its glory days. Elaborate gardens, gleaming woodwork, families gathered on the porch for celebrations. One photo showed a young Eleanor in a wedding dress, standing before the fireplace I'd just admired. On the back, "Where love lives, hope survives." A business card fell out as I lifted the photos. Morrison, Historical Preservation, Sarah Morrison, Architect. My breath caught. Morrison, my last name. The date on the card was 1978. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone to research. Sarah Morrison was my father's cousin, a woman I'd heard mentioned but never met. She'd died before I was born, but apparently she'd specialized in saving historic houses. The coincidence felt like more than chance. It felt like destiny. At the bottom of the box, wrapped in tissue paper, lay a brass key and a note for the tower room. "The sunrise is worth the climb." I practically flew up 2 flights of stairs to the tower. The door stuck, but the key turned smoothly in the lock. Inside, windows on 3 sides offered panoramic views of Maple Street and beyond. Built-in window seats created cozy nooks. The ceiling soared to a point decorated with painted stars that still glimmered faintly in the dying light. But the sunrise wasn't what made me gasp. It was the sunset happening right then, painting the room in shades of gold and rose. Through those wavy glass windows, my small town looked transformed, magical, full of possibility. This wasn't just a house. It was a chance. A chance to build something with my own hands, to create rather than just survive. A chance to stop being the family wallet and start being myself. I sat in that tower room as darkness fell, using my phone to research everything. The tax auction was in 3 days. $900 would make me the owner. The house had been on the county's rolls for 5 years. They just wanted it off their books. No other bids had been registered. My phone, which I'd turned back on, exploded with messages. 37 texts, 15 missed calls. Madison, hysterical. Mom threatening. Dad disappointed. Tyler calling me selfish in creative new ways. I deleted them all without reading and opened my banking app instead. $900.43. 3 years of my life reduced to numbers on a screen, but those numbers could become walls and floors, windows and doors. They could become a home. Sitting there in Eleanor Whitman's tower room, surrounded by painted stars and possibility, I made my choice. My family had made theirs at that dinner table, deciding my dreams were worth less than Madison's latest whim. Now I was deciding too. The murder house was no murder house at all. It was a rescue house, a survival house, a hope house. Eleanor had seen that truth 90 years ago. Sarah Morrison had tried to preserve it 45 years ago. Now it was my turn. I spent another hour exploring with my phone's light, finding more treasures. Original light fixtures hidden under drop ceilings. Pocket doors concealed behind drywall. A clawfoot tub that just needed cleaning. Every room held potential whispered possibilities. By the time I left, locking the front door carefully behind me, I documented everything with photos. The house might be crumbling, but it was structurally sound. The foundation was solid stone. The roof, while needing work, wasn't caving in. The electrical and plumbing would need updating, but the bones, as Eleanor had promised, were good. I drove home to my apartment with new purpose. Let Madison manipulate, let Mom threaten, let Tyler judge. They'd shown me exactly what my worth was to them, a bank account to raid, nothing more. But this house, this beautiful wreck of a house, it saw something different in me. It saw someone worth saving, someone capable of saving it in return. Eleanor Whitman had left her hope in those walls, and somehow, across 20 years, and a letter that shouldn't have survived, that hope had found me. 3 days until the auction. 3 days to change everything. My family thought they'd won with their emotional manipulation and calculated cruelty. They had no idea they'd just set me free. The next morning arrived with unusual clarity. I woke at 5, showered, dressed in my most professional outfit, and drove straight to the bank. The $900 I'd saved represented overtime shifts, missed meals, and sacrificed pleasures. As the teller counted out the cash, each bill felt like a small victory against everyone who'd tried to claim it. The county courthouse opened at 8. I was waiting on the steps at 7:45, cashier's check in hand. The tax auction office occupied a small corner of the building, staffed by a bored-looking woman named Brenda, who perked up when she saw me. The Maple Street Victorian. She raised her eyebrows. You sure about that, honey? That place has been sitting empty for decades. 20 years, I corrected. And yes, I'm sure. She shrugged and pulled out the paperwork. No other registered bidders. Minimum bid is $900 for back taxes. You'll need to sign these forms initial here and here. My hand was steady as I signed my name again and again. Each signature felt like writing my own Declaration of Independence. By 8:30, I held the deed to 47 Maple Street in my hands. Congratulations, Brenda said, though her tone suggested condolences might be more appropriate. You're now the proud owner of Whitfield County's most notorious property. Good luck. I sat in my car afterward, deed clutched to my chest, letting the magnitude sink in. I owned a house. Not just any house, but a Queen Anne Victorian with good bones and Eleanor Whitman's blessing. The smile spreading across my face felt foreign after last night's pain. That's when my phone rang. Mom. Against my better judgment, I answered. Oh, finally, she snapped without greeting. Madison is beside herself. The retreat center called this morning, demanding payment. Do you have any idea how embarrassed we are? Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't get smart with me, Dianne. This has gone far enough. You've made your point. Now wire the money and stop this childish rebellion. I can't do that. Can't or won't? Both. The money is gone. Silence. Then in a voice like ice, What do you mean gone? I bought a house this morning, the Victorian on Maple Street. The silence stretched so long I checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. When Mom finally spoke, her voice was deadly quiet. You spent $900 on that decrepit eyesore. It's not decrepit, it just needs work. Work. Her volume increased with each word. Do you have any idea what you've done? Madison's retreat coordinator is threatening to sue for breach of contract. Your father is mortified. Tyler says you've lost your mind. Madison shouldn't have used my name without permission. Family doesn't need permission. Family helps family. Funny how that only goes one direction in our family. She steamrolled over my observation. You're coming home right now. We're having an emergency family meeting. I have work in an hour. Call in sick. No. Excuse me. I said no, Mom. I'm not calling in sick. I'm not coming to another ambush disguised as a family meeting. And I'm not apologizing for using my own money for my own dreams. Dreams. She laughed, but it was bitter mocking. You call throwing money away on a haunted house a dream. At least Madison's retreat would have helped her heal. Madison's had 5 breakups, 4 career changes, and 3 therapists in the last 2 years. When is she going to realize that healing comes from within, not from whatever expensive program she's fixated on this month? How dare you judge your sister's pain? I'm not judging her pain. I'm questioning why I'm always expected to fund her solutions. Because you have the money. I had the money. Now I have a house. A worthless falling down embarrassment of a house. You've shamed this entire family. The word hit like a slap. Shamed. Because I'd chosen differently. Because I'd said no. If anyone's ashamed, it should be Madison for committing fraud with my name. Stop being dramatic and stop trying to change the subject. You have 1 hour to figure out how to fix this mess. Or what? Or you're no longer welcome in this family. The threat hung between us like a blade. Part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity. They needed my money, but were threatening to disown me for not providing it. I'll be at work if you need me, I said quietly. My real work not fixing Madison's latest crisis. I hung up before she could respond and immediately silenced my phone. 23 new texts appeared within minutes, but I didn't read them. I had a job to get to, a normal life to maintain, while my family imploded over their own expectations. Work provided temporary refuge. As a medical billing specialist at Riverside Family Practice, I spent my days in orderly rows of numbers and codes. My supervisor, Jennifer, noticed my distraction. "Everything okay?" she asked during our morning break. "You seem off today." I almost brushed her off with a generic fine, but something in her expression invited honesty. "That's family drama," I admitted. "They wanted me to fund something I couldn't support, and now they're acting like I've committed murder." She stirred her coffee thoughtfully. "Let me guess, you're the responsible one who always bails them out." "How did you know?" "Because I was you 10 years ago. Always the safety net, never the priority. Until I finally said no to funding my brother's 3rd business venture and my family acted like I'd betrayed them." "What happened?" "They froze me out for 6 months. Then when his business failed anyway, just like the first 2, they came crawling back. But by then, I'd learned to maintain boundaries. Best thing I ever did." Her words gave me hope, but the buzzing phone in my pocket suggested my family wasn't ready to accept boundaries yet. By lunch, the missed calls had reached 47. I finally checked one voicemail from Madison. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. The retreat center says if I don't pay by 5 p.m., they're giving my spot away and keeping the deposit." "Oh, wait, there is no deposit, because you were supposed to pay. How can you be so cruel? I thought you loved me. I guess I was wrong about everything." The manipulation was textbook Madison. Tears, guilt, accusations of not loving her. Usually it worked. Usually I caved. Not today. I deleted the message and walked to my car for lunch. Instead of the sandwich I'd packed, I deserved something special. First day as a homeowner called for celebration, even if I was celebrating alone. That's when I saw them. My entire family standing beside my car in the clinic's parking lot. Mom's face was stone dad's, disappointed Tyler's angry, and Madison's streaked with mascara from crying. "We need to talk," Dad said, his principal voice in full effect. "I'm at work." "This is more important than work," Mom said. "Madison's future is at stake." Madison's future has been at stake every 6 months for the past decade. Somehow, she survives. "This is different," Madison wailed. "This retreat was my last hope." "Your last hope was the crystal healing certification, and the life coaching seminar, and the meditation teacher training. Those were different. This is real." "They were all real when you wanted money for them." Tyler stepped forward, phone in hand. "I've been researching that dump you bought. Do you know what renovations cost? You'll need at least $50,000 just to make it livable." "Then I'll figure it out." "With what money you just blew your only savings on a worthless pile of rotting wood." "It's not worthless to me." Mom grabbed my arm. "Dianne, listen to me. There's still time. The courthouse is open until 4. You can return the deed. Get your money back and fix this." "Return the deed." I stared at her. That's not how property ownership works. "Then sell it. Today. Take whatever you can get and give Madison what she needs." "No." The word hung in the air like a challenge. Dad cleared his throat. "Dianne, we've discussed this as a family. If you don't fix this situation by 5 p.m. today, you're no longer welcome at family functions. No Sunday dinners, no holidays, no birthday celebrations. You'll be completely cut off until you come to your senses. You're disowning me over $900. "We're establishing consequences for selfishness," Tyler said, parroting what sounded like Mom's words. "Selfishness," I repeated. Interesting word choice from the brother who still owes me $3,000 in loans he's never attempted to repay. His face flushed. "That's different. I had emergencies." "Gambling debts aren't emergencies, Tyler. How dare you?" "How dare I? What, tell the truth, point out the hypocrisy of calling me selfish when I'm the only one in this family who's never taken a dime from anyone else." "You've taken plenty," Mom said coldly. "Years of meals, shelter, support. I moved out at 18 and have been financially independent ever since. But sure, let's count childhood room and board as a debt I need to repay forever." Madison chose that moment to escalate her sobs. "You're all arguing about money while my life falls apart. I just wanted to heal. I just wanted to be better. But Dianne would rather buy a murder house than help her own sister." That's when she delivered the final blow. She held up her phone showing a message thread with someone named Christine. "I already told everyone in my support group that my family was paying for the retreat. They're all so proud of me for taking this step. If I have to tell them it fell through because my sister is selfish, I'll be humiliated. Is that what you want? To humiliate me? You humiliated yourself when you lied about having funding." "It wasn't a lie. I knew you'd come through. You always do. You're the good one, the responsible one. That's who you are." "No," I said firmly. "That's who you all decided I should be. There's a difference." A crowd was starting to gather. My coworkers peering through the clinic windows, patients in the parking lot pretending not to stare. My family had brought their drama to my workplace, crossing yet another boundary. "We should go," I said. "This is inappropriate." "You know what's inappropriate," Mom's voice rose. "Abandoning your family for a pile of termite-infested wood, choosing property over people, putting your fantasy before Madison's mental health." "Madison's mental health won't be fixed by a retreat in Sedona any more than it was fixed by crystals or coaching or meditation training. At some point, she needs to take responsibility for her own healing." "Easy for you to say," Madison spat. "You've never suffered like I have. You've never had your heart broken." "Haven't I?" I looked at each of them in turn. "I'm having it broken right now by people who claim to love me but only value my bank account." Dad pulled out his ultimate weapon, disappointment. "Your grandmother would be ashamed of you. She always put family first." Something in me snapped. You want to know what Grandma told me before she died? She said she was proud that I was breaking the cycle, that I was learning to say no, that I wouldn't let family drain me dry like they drained her. Mom's face went white. She never said that. She did. Right after you borrowed $5,000 from her for Madison's car that got repossessed anyway. That's enough, Dad commanded. You have until 5 p.m. to fix this. After that, you're on your own. They left in Mom's SUV Madison, still crying in the back seat, Tyler texting furiously, probably spreading his version of events to extended family. I stood in the parking lot shaking, but somehow stronger. Jennifer appeared beside me. You okay? I just got disowned for buying a house instead of funding my sister's retreat. She whistled low. That's a new one. Need the afternoon off. No, I need normal. I need to pretend my family isn't completely insane for a few more hours. But normal was impossible. Every time I answered the phone, it was another relative calling to scold me. Aunt Patricia said I was breaking my mother's heart. Uncle Steve suggested I needed therapy for my control issues. Cousin Rachel offered to mediate if I'd just stop being stubborn. By 4:30, I'd stopped answering altogether. 5 o'clock came and went. The retreat center's deadline passed. My phone finally went quiet. At 5:15, a final text from Dad. You've made your choice. Now live with the consequences. Your belongings will be on the porch. Don't come inside. 28 years of being their daughter, their safety net. Their responsible one ended with a text message about consequences. I sat in my car after work staring at that message, waiting to feel devastated. Instead, I felt free. The drive to my parents' house took 20 minutes, but felt like a journey between worlds. Each familiar street corner held memories: the park where Dad taught me to ride a bike, the library where Mom signed me up for my first reading contest, the ice cream shop where we celebrated Madison's high school graduation. Soon these would just be places I used to know. Their house sat on Elm Street like a monument to middle-class respectability. 2-story colonial, perfect lawn, American flag waving from the porch. Everything about it screamed normal, stable family values. The lie of it all made my stomach turn. True to Dad's word, my belongings were piled on the porch like garbage waiting for collection. Not in boxes or bags, just thrown into haphazard heaps. Photo albums scattered across damp wood. My grandmother's quilt dragging in the dirt. High school trophies mixed with tax documents. I parked and approached slowly, part of me hoping someone would open the door, say this was all a misunderstanding. The curtain in the living room twitched. Mom was watching. The front door opened, but only wide enough for her to speak through the crack. Get your things and leave. Mom, can we just talk? There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. I chose to buy a house with my own money. Why is that worth destroying our relationship? You chose property over people. You chose selfishness over family. Madison is devastated. Through the crack, I could see into the living room. Madison sat on the couch, Tyler beside her, both of them scrolling through their phones. Neither looked particularly devastated. I need bags for all this, I said, gesturing at my scattered possessions. Mom disappeared, returning with 2 garbage bags that she threw at my feet. Fitting, don't you think you chose to live in garbage? Might as well pack like it. The cruelty of it stole my breath. This woman who'd kissed my scraped knees and celebrated my achievements was throwing my life into trash bags. I started gathering things, trying to save what mattered most. Photos first, then important documents. My hand shook as I picked up pieces of my history from the dirty porch. That's when I noticed what was missing. My laptop with all my freelance design work, my grandmother's jewelry box, the pearl necklace she'd given me for college graduation, the savings bonds from my christening. Where's my laptop? I called through the door. What laptop? Mom's voice was artificially innocent. The one from my room, with all my work files. If it's not out there, it must not be yours. Mom, I need that computer. It has client projects on it. Should have thought about that before you abandoned your family. Madison appeared beside Mom, fake tears, dried smirk firmly in place. Maybe next time you'll think twice before being selfish. You're stealing from me now. It's not stealing when it's family, Tyler called from inside. Besides, consider it payment for all the times you lorded your money over us. I never lorded anything. Every time you said you couldn't afford to help us, you were lording, Madison interrupted. Every time you had money in savings while we struggled, you were rubbing our faces in it. The logic was so twisted I couldn't formulate a response. Having savings was lording. Being responsible was rubbing their faces in something. I finished packing what they deigned to return, careful to check between scattered papers for anything valuable. That's when I found it, a printed email from Madison to someone named Christine, dated 3 weeks ago. Operation Guilt Trip is a goeo, it read. Family dinner Tuesday. If Dianne doesn't crack, we move to phase 2. She's got exactly what the retreat costs saved up. It's like fate. My hands trembled as I read further. They'd been planning this for weeks. The timing, the approach, even the specific words to use. Tyler had contributed suggestions about calling me heartless. Mom had crafted the family helps family angle. Find something interesting, Mom asked, noticing I'd stopped packing. I held up the email. Operation Guilt Trip. Madison had the grace to look embarrassed for exactly 2 seconds. So what? We knew you'd never help unless we approached it right. Approached it right, you conspired to manipulate me. We strategized to help you do the right thing, Mom corrected. There's a difference. What's the difference between strategizing and lying? We never lied, Tyler said, finally coming to the door. Madison does need help. Madison needs a job, not a retreat. Jobs don't heal trauma, Madison snapped. Neither do retreats you can't afford. I shoved the email in my pocket and continued packing. Evidence of their premeditation might matter later, though, for what I wasn't sure. You can't sue family for conspiracy to commit emotional manipulation. As I packed, I noticed Mom watching my every move. When I reached for a box of Christmas ornaments we'd collected over the years, she stepped out. Those stay. Half of these are mine, gifts from... family ornaments stay with the family. You're not family anymore. Each word was carefully chosen to wound. She'd learned over years exactly where to strike for maximum damage. But something had shifted in me. The words hit, but didn't penetrate. They bounced off like rubber arrows against steel. Keep them, I said simply. I'll make new memories. This wasn't the reaction she expected. She wanted tears begging capitulation. Instead, I calmly continued packing, leaving behind anything that could be disputed. That's when I remembered the spare key. I'd hidden a spare key to my apartment behind the porch light years ago for emergencies. If they were already stealing my laptop, what else might they take? I need to use the bathroom, I lied. Hold it. Mom, seriously? There's a gas station 2 blocks away. They were really going to deny me basic human dignity. Now I added it to the growing list of cruelties I'd never forget. Tyler emerged with something in his hands. My grandmother's jewelry box. This stays too, he announced. That was left specifically to me in her will. Prove it. The will is in that box. He opened it, pulled out papers, and tore them into pieces. What will... The destruction of legal documents should have enraged me. Instead, I felt oddly calm. They were showing me exactly who they had always been. The masks were off. You realize there are copies at the lawyer's office, I said. His face flushed. Well, still, it stays. Tyler, why are you doing this? For a moment, his bravado slipped. You were supposed to help? You always help. I can't help Madison with money I don't have anymore. You could have waited, bought your stupid house later. When would it have been acceptable for me to use my own money for my own dreams? He couldn't answer because we both knew the truth, never. In their minds, my money would never truly be mine. It would always be the family emergency fund, the bailout account the solution to everyone's problems, but my own. Mom reappeared with something else my high school yearbooks. These stay too. You don't deserve memories of when you were a good daughter. I'm still a good daughter. Good daughters just sometimes have to say no. Good daughters don't buy crack houses with money their sisters need. It's not a crack house, and Madison doesn't need anything except accountability. That triggered Madison into fresh tears. I can't believe you're still attacking me when you've already ruined my life. I didn't ruin anything. You told a retreat center you had money you didn't have. That's on you. It's on you, she screamed. Everything bad in my life is on you now. When I spiral into depression because I couldn't heal, that's your fault. When I can't function because you denied me help, that's on your conscience. The manipulation was so blatant it was almost impressive. She was preemptively blaming me for any future failures, setting up a narrative where I was responsible for her choices forever. Madison, I said quietly, I love you, but your healing is your responsibility. It always has been. Love, Mom laughed bitterly. You don't know what love is. Love is sacrifice. Love is putting family first. Love is boundaries, I interrupted. Love is letting people face consequences. Love is not enabling dysfunction. Don't quote your therapy books at me. I'm not quoting anything. I'm learning in real time that loving you doesn't mean funding Madison's fantasies or accepting Tyler's gambling debts or pretending this is normal. Normal. Dad appeared in the doorway, face red with anger. You want to talk about normal daughters help their families. Normal daughters don't abandon ship at the first sign of need. First sign, I've been bailing Madison out since high school. I've been covering Tyler's mistakes since middle school. When does it end? It doesn't, Mom shouted. That's what family means. It never ends. There it was. The truth none of us had ever said out loud. In their vision, I would fund Madison's crises and Tyler's mistakes forever, until I had nothing left to give. Then I'd be discarded like they were discarding me now. Then I guess I'm not family, I said, hefting the garbage bags. Wait, Madison stepped forward. What about my retreat? Even now, even in the middle of disowning me, she was still focused on the money. Oh, what about it? Can't you at least loan me the money? I'll pay you back. With what? My future earnings. After the retreat helps me heal, I'll be able to work again. You haven't worked in 2 years, Madison. Because I'm broken, but the retreat will fix me. No, I said simply, it won't. That's when she snapped. Really snapped. She lunged for my bags, trying to grab them, screaming about how I'd stolen her future. Tyler had to pull her back while she clawed at the air between us. You're dead to me, she screamed. Dead. I hope your house falls down. I hope you end up alone. I hope you regret this every day for the rest of your miserable life. Mom didn't correct her. Dad didn't intervene. They stood there united in their hatred of my independence. I loaded the bags into my car while Madison continued her tirade. Neighbors peered through windows at the spectacle. Let them watch. Let everyone see what family first really looked like. As I opened my car door, Mom delivered one final cruelty. Oh, I changed the locks while you were packing, in case you got any ideas about coming back. I looked at the house key in my hand, suddenly useless. 28 years reduced to a piece of metal that no longer fit. Keep it, I said, tossing the key at her feet. I won't need it where I'm going. I drove away to the sound of Madison's screaming and Mom's threats echoing behind me. In my rearview mirror, I watched my childhood home grow smaller until it disappeared entirely. The garbage bags in my backseat held fragments of a life I'd never get back. The missing items, the ones they'd kept out of spite, would haunt me later. But right now, all I could think about was the key in my pocket. Not the useless house key I'd thrown away, but the brass key Eleanor Whitman had left for the tower room. One door had slammed shut. Another was waiting to open. They'd thrown me away like garbage, but sometimes that's how recycling works. You take something discarded, something deemed worthless, and transform it into something new. Just like my murder house, just like me. The Victorian on Maple Street loomed different in the darkness. Without the golden sunset painting its walls, the house showed its true condition: broken, abandoned, forgotten. My headlights swept across peeling paint and sagging shutters as I pulled into the crumbling driveway. This was home now, my only home. I sat in the car for a moment, engine running, trying to process the last 6 hours. This morning, I'd had a family. Now I had 2 garbage bags and a house without electricity. The math seemed impossible, but here I was. The front door groaned as I pushed it open. Darkness swallowed me whole. My phone's battery read 12% its flashlight eating power I couldn't spare. I needed to be strategic about exploration tonight. The garbage bags landed with thuds that echoed through empty rooms. I guided myself to the living room by memory and phone light, where street light filtered through dirty windows. My new bedroom, at least for tonight. That's when I noticed something I'd missed during yesterday's emotional exploration. A camping lantern sat on the mantelpiece with a note for the next person who needs light in darkness. Pay it forward. Urban Explorer 2019. The lantern still had battery power. Suddenly, the room transformed from cave to shelter. Shadows danced on walls that had seen over a century of lives, and I wasn't alone. Some stranger had left provision for another stranger, and that stranger was me. Using the lantern, I explored more practically now. The water was shut off, but the pipes looked intact. The electrical panel was ancient, but not dangerous. The gas meter outside showed active service, just disconnected. Everything fixable if I had money, which I didn't. In the kitchen, I found more Urban Explorer gifts: bottled water, energy bars, even a sleeping bag rolled in the pantry with another note: house sitting empty too long, deserves family again. Good luck. These anonymous kindnesses from people who'd technically been trespassing hit harder than my family's cruelty. Strangers had shown more consideration for future occupants than my blood relatives had shown for me. My phone buzzed. 5% battery. I checked one last message from Jennifer at work. Heard about family drama. Take tomorrow off if needed. Your job is safe here. At least I still had income. Medical billing wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. $40,000 a year wouldn't renovate a Victorian, but it would keep me fed while I figured out the rest. I spread the donated sleeping bag on the living room floor, using rolled clothes from garbage bags as a pillow. The lantern cast dancing shadows that should have been creepy, but felt more like company. The house creaked and settled around me, learning my weight, my breathing, my presence. Sleep felt impossible until I remembered Eleanor's letter. I pulled it from my pocket, reading by lantern light. This house saved us. Trust the house. It has good bones. Okay, Eleanor, I whispered to the walls. I'm trusting you? That's when I heard it. A gentle tap, tap, tap from somewhere below. Not scary, just persistent, like the house trying to tell me something. I grabbed the lantern and descended to the basement. The tapping led me to the eastern wall where the blueprints had shown a tunnel entrance. One stone sat slightly proud of the others, moisture seeping around its edges. When I pressed it, it gave way, revealing not a tunnel, but a hand-operated well pump. Water. The house had its own water source. I worked the pump handle rusty from disuse. Nothing at first, then a trickle, then clear cold water splashing onto the floor. I cupped my hands and drank. It tasted like minerals and earth and salvation. Back upstairs, I found a bucket in the pantry, water for drinking for basic washing. Not a full solution, but enough for tonight. The house was providing, just as Eleanor promised. I returned to my makeshift bed, less desperate now. Tomorrow would bring problems, but tonight I had shelter, water, and strangers' kindness, more than my family had left me with. My phone died completely as I settled in. Good. Let them wonder if their cruelty had driven me to something desperate. Let them sit with their choices while I sat with mine. The house continued its nighttime symphony of settling sounds. In my apartment, every noise had meant thin walls and annoying neighbors. Here, each creak and groan was the house stretching around me, accepting me, protecting me. I must have dozed because I woke to sunlight streaming through the eastern windows. The first sunrise in my own home. I climbed stairs to the tower room using Eleanor's key again and watched the world wake up from my private observatory. That's when I saw him. A man in his 30s standing in my driveway tool belt around his waist, examining the porch with professional interest. My heart raced. Was he here to condemn the property? Had someone reported me? I hurried downstairs and stepped onto the porch, trying to look like I belonged there, which I did. I owned this place. "Morning," he said, turning with a friendly smile. "Are you the new owner?" "Yes, Dianne Morrison." "Mark Chen." He extended his hand, and I noticed his business card tucked in the doorframe, the contractor who'd left his information. "My grandmother lived 2 houses down for 60 years. Used to play in this yard as a kid. Mrs. Whitman would give us lemonade on hot days." "You knew Eleanor." His face softened. "Lovely woman. Hated to see the house sit empty after she passed. My grandmother always said this place had the best bones in the neighborhood." "That's what Eleanor said too, good bones." "Mind if I look around? No charge, just curious what condition she's in." Part of me wanted to refuse. I'd had enough of people judging my choices, but something in his manner felt different, respectful, like he saw the house's potential, not just its problems. "Sure, but I don't have electricity yet, or running water, or money for repairs." He grinned. "Let's see what we're working with before we worry about money." For the next hour, Mark examined the house with expert eyes and gentle hands. He knocked on walls, tested floors, peered at joints and beams. His expression grew more amazed with each discovery. "Original hardwood throughout, just needs refinishing. Plaster walls, not drywall, incredible craftsmanship. The foundation is solid limestone, that's why there's no major settling. And these windows." He ran his hand over wavy glass. "Hand blown. They don't make them like this anymore. It's not a tear down." He looked offended. "Tear down. This is a treasure. Sure, it needs work, but the expensive stuff, the structural stuff, that's all solid. You know what you have here." "A money pit I can't afford." "A gold mine wrapped in neglect. This house properly restored is worth $500,000. Easy." The number made me dizzy. "I paid $900. He whistled. "Best investment you'll ever make, if you can swing the repairs." "That's the problem. I have a job but no savings. My family—" I stopped, not ready to share that wound. "Not family complicated?" "They disowned me for buying this place instead of funding my sister's retreat." "Ah." He nodded like that made perfect sense. "My family disowned me for becoming a contractor instead of a doctor. 10 years later, I renovated their house at friends and family rates. Families come around when you prove them wrong. I don't think mine will." "Then you build a new family. Speaking of which," he pulled out his phone, "I've got a crew that might interest you. We've been looking for a project property to showcase our work. Before and after photos documentation for our portfolio. If you're willing to let us use your renovation for marketing, we might work something out on payment." "What kind of something?" "We front the labor and materials, you pay us back from the increased property value when you refinance or sell. Basically, we invest in the house alongside you." Why would you do that?" "Because houses like this deserve saving. Because my grandmother would haunt me if I let the Whitman place rot. And because—" He grinned. "I really want to see what's behind that basement wall where the blueprints show a tunnel." Hope bloomed in my chest for the first time in days. "You found the blueprints. You mentioned them. Original architectural drawings are gold for restoration. We'd be working from the architect's vision, not guessing." "When could you start?" "How about now? Let me call my guys, see who's free for initial assessment. While Mark made calls, I explored the yard. Morning light revealed fruit trees I'd missed before. Apple pear and what looked like cherry, all overgrown but alive. The garden plot Eleanor mentioned stretched along the southern exposure, waiting for attention. A car pulled up and my stomach clenched, expecting family. Instead, an elderly woman emerged, moving carefully with a walker. "You the Morrison girl who bought Eleanor's place?" "Yes, ma'am, Dianne. Hazel Chenmark's grandmother. I brought you some things." She handed me a basket covered with a checkered cloth, inside fresh bread, homemade jam eggs, and a thermos of coffee. The kindness of it made my eyes burn. "Mrs. Whitman would have liked you," Hazel said, studying my face. "She always said the house would choose its next owner. Seems it chose well." "My family doesn't think so." "Families don't always recognize wisdom when they see it. Eleanor's family wanted her to sell during the Depression. She refused, and this house fed half the neighborhood from its garden during the worst years. Sometimes stubbornness is just another word for vision." Mark returned with two other men, introducing them as cousins from his crew. They dove into examination with infectious enthusiasm, calling out discoveries like kids on a treasure hunt. Original tin ceiling in the dining room. Servant stairs behind this wall. "Is that a dumbwaiter shaft?" By noon, they'd mapped out a basic restoration plan. Priority 1 utilities. The electrical needed updating but wasn't dangerous. The plumbing was solid copper worth keeping. The gas lines just needed inspection and reconnection. "I can't pay for all this," I reminded them. "Initial utilities, maybe $2,000 to get you basic services," Mark calculated. "But I know a guy who owes me a favor for electrical, another for plumbing. If you're not picky about perfect, just functional, we can probably get you living basics for under $500. "I don't have $500. "You have a job. Medical billing. $40,000 a year. So you're good for it. We'll start today, you pay us when you can. 100 here, 50 there. We'll keep track." I stared at him. "You'd trust me for that." "I'm trusting the house. It's survived 130 years. It's not going anywhere." They left to gather supplies, promising to return by evening. I sat on the porch steps, overwhelmed by strangers' faith in me and my house. My phone, charged in my car, showed 57 missed calls from various family members. I deleted them unheard. That afternoon, while waiting for Mark's return, I started clearing debris from the yard. Physical work felt good after emotional trauma. Each wheelbarrow of dead branches was a tiny victory, proof I could improve something. "Nice work." A woman's voice made me turn. She stood at the fence line, maybe 50, wearing paint-splattered overalls. "I'm Janet, live next door. Watched you working and thought you might need these." She handed over work gloves, a sun hat, and a water bottle. "Eleanor would be so pleased someone's finally caring for the place. She loved this house like a child." "Everyone seems to have known Eleanor. Small neighborhood. We look out for each other. Which reminds me," she pulled out her phone, "I run the neighborhood Facebook page. Mind if I post that the Whitman place has a new owner? Folks will want to know." "I guess that's fine." She snapped a photo of me standing before the house, sweaty and dirty, but smiling. "Perfect. Welcome to Maple Street, Dianne. We're glad you're here." By evening, Mark's crew had worked miracles. The electricity hummed to life, revealing beautiful ceiling fixtures under decades of dust. The water ran brown, then clear. The gas meter clicked on promising future heat. "Basic services established," Mark announced. "You can shower, cook, see after dark. Still need heating system work before winter, but you're livable." "How much do I owe?" $300 for parts. Electrical guy gave friends rate plumber owed me from a poker game. Labor's on account against future work. $300 I didn't have but would find. Overtime shifts, skipped lunches, whatever it took. I'd paid more than that for Madison's last birthday dinner at a restaurant she'd chosen specifically for its expense. "Thank you," I managed around the lump in my throat. "Thank Eleanor," Mark said. "Her house chose good people." They packed up as darkness fell. I stood in my illuminated living room marveling at the miracle of light switches that worked. The house felt different with electricity, like it had woken from a long sleep. I took my first shower in the clawfoot tub using the camping supplies from my car. The water was hot, the pressure decent. I'd lived in apartments with worse bathrooms. This one just needed some scrubbing and new fixtures. Clean and exhausted, I made a bed on the living room floor again. Tomorrow, I'd figure out furniture. Tonight, I had power water and a door that locked. More than that, I had neighbors who brought bread and contractors who trusted me, and a house that kept revealing treasures. My phone rang. Mom, I let it go to voicemail, then listened. This is your last chance, Dianne. Madison's developed stress hives from your selfishness. The retreat center is threatening legal action. Your father can't sleep. Tyler says you're probably on drugs to behave this way. Call me back immediately or we're taking serious action. I deleted it and turned off my phone. Stress hives were Madison's go-to manipulation when emotional crying failed. Legal action from a retreat center she defrauded was laughable. Dad's insomnia was his guilty conscience. Tyler's drug accusation was projection from his gambling addiction. Their serious action held no fear for me anymore. What more could they take? They'd already stolen my belongings, destroyed my documents, and thrown me away. The worst had happened and I'd survived. More than survived. In one day, I'd gained neighbors who cared, contractors who believed in my house, and strangers who left camping supplies for future wanderers. I'd lost my biological family, but found something else, something that might grow into more. The house settled around me with contented sounds. Pipes adjusting to water flow wood, responding to temperature changes, the bones Eleanor trusted stretching into new life. We're going to be okay, I whispered to the walls. The house creaked in agreement, and for the first time since that horrible family dinner, I believed it might be true. Thursday morning arrived with my alarm at 5:30, just like always, except nothing was like always. I dressed in yesterday's clothes, brushed my teeth with bottled water, and made instant coffee on the ancient stove that miraculously worked, my new normal. The drive to work felt different, knowing I wouldn't return to an apartment, but to my own house. My disaster of a house, but mine. I parked at Riverside Family Practice with 5 minutes to spare, professional mask firmly in place. Morning, Dianne, Jennifer greeted me with concern. How are you holding up? Better than expected. Thanks for yesterday off. Of course, family crises happen. Is everything resolved? In a way, I'm no longer part of the family, so no more crises. Her eyes widened, but she didn't push. Well, if you need anything, let me know. We've got that big insurance audit next week, so I'm glad you're here. I dove into work gratefully. Numbers made sense. Codes had rules. Insurance claims followed logical patterns, unlike families who claimed love while practicing cruelty. Around 10, our receptionist Patricia knocked on my cubicle. Dianne, there's someone online too insisting they speak with you, says it's urgent family business. My stomach dropped. Did they give a name? Madison Morrison, says she's your sister. Tell her I'm unavailable. Patricia hesitated. She said if you don't take the call, she'll keep calling until you do. She sounds upset. Of course she did. Madison had weaponized upset into an art form. I'll take it. I picked up the phone already exhausted. What do you want, Madison? Is that any way to greet your sister? Former sister, you were pretty clear about me being dead to you. I was emotional. You just ruined my life. But I'm calling to give you another chance. The audacity was breathtaking. Another chance at what? To make things right. The retreat center extended their deadline to tomorrow. If you wire the money today, we can forget this whole ugly incident. The money is gone, Madison. I bought a house. Then unbuy it, return it, sell it. That's not how property ownership works. Then take out a loan against it. Use your credit cards. Do something. No. Well, no, that's it, just no. Complete sentence, clear meaning. No. She switched tactics, voice dropping to wounded whisper. I'm sick, Diane. Physically sick from the stress. Mom took me to urgent care last night. For stress hives, those clear up with Benadryl. The doctor said it could develop into something serious. My cortisol levels are dangerously high. This is what happens when family abandons family. Interesting timing for these dangerous levels, right when you need money. Are you accusing me of faking illness? I'm noting a pattern. Remember when you developed severe migraines right before Tyler's wedding? They mysteriously vanished when Mom paid for your plus one's outfit. That was different. Or the gluten intolerance that appeared when Dad wouldn't pay for your wine tasting tour cleared right up when he caved. You're twisting everything. I'm remembering everything. There's a difference. She hung up, but I knew this was just round one. Madison never gave up when money was involved. 20 minutes later, Patricia was back. Your mother's on line 1. Says it's about a medical emergency. The escalation was predictable. I picked up the phone. Unless someone's actually dying, I'm not interested. How did I raise such a heartless daughter? Mom's voice was ice. Practice. You've been pretty heartless yourself lately. Madison's in the hospital. No, she's not. How would you know? Because she called me 20 minutes ago from her cell phone. Hospitals make you turn those off in treatment areas. Plus, I can hear her talking in the background right now. Silence. Then Madison's muffled voice. Tell her I passed out. You're on speaker, Mom. I can hear everything. The fumbling sounds of technology betrayal were almost comical. Finally, Mom came back on alone. This is serious, Dianne. Your sister is suffering. From consequences. Those aren't usually fatal. Dr. Peterson says her anxiety could trigger a serious episode. Dr. Peterson is a chiropractor. Try again. When did you become so cruel? Tuesday night. You were there for my graduation ceremony. This isn't a joke. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Tyler can't focus at work. You're destroying this family. I'm living in my own house. If that destroys the family, maybe the family was already broken. She hung up on me. Strike 2. The morning passed quietly until Patricia returned looking frazzled. Dianne, there's a man in the lobby insisting you stole money from his mother. Security's with him, but he's making quite a scene. Tyler, of course. Call security to remove him. He's my brother, and he's lying. Your brother? Patricia's eyes widened. Oh, honey, what's going on? Family dispute. They wanted my savings. I bought a house instead. Now they're retaliating. Should we call the police? Not yet, but document everything. Time, date, what he said. I heard Tyler's voice rising from the lobby, carrying through the clinic. Words like theft and elder abuse and drug problem floated back. My coworkers pretended not to notice, but I felt their glances. Jennifer appeared at my cubicle. Conference room, now. My heart sank. Was I being fired over Tyler's scene? But Jennifer's face was sympathetic as she closed the door. I heard what your brother's saying out there. Before security removes him, I need to know, is there any truth to it? None. I used my own savings to buy a house. My family wanted the money for my sister's retreat. When I refused, they disowned me. So no theft, no elder abuse, no drugs. I haven't even taken aspirin in 6 months. She nodded. That's what I thought. Okay, here's what we're doing. Security's removing him with trespass warning. If he returns, we call police. I'm documenting this incident in case they escalate, and Dianne maybe consider getting a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer. Legal aid exists for a reason. This kind of harassment can escalate quickly. She was right. If they were willing to show up at my workplace, what else might they do? I returned to my desk, but focusing was impossible. Every time the phone rang, I tensed. When Patricia approached again after lunch, I almost snapped. I'm so sorry, she said quickly, but there's something you need to know. Someone called claiming to be from the state medical board asking about your employment history and any drug-related incidents. My blood chilled. What did you tell them? Nothing. It sounded fishy, so I transferred them to Jennifer. She recognized your brother's voice and hung up. They were trying to get me fired. Without my job, I'd lose my house and have to crawl back begging. The calculation was breathtaking in its cruelty. Jennifer called me back in. Okay, this is escalating beyond family drama. They're attempting to interfere with your employment. That's legally actionable. I'm calling our corporate legal team for advice. I don't want to cause trouble. You're not causing anything. They are, and we protect our employees from harassment. She pulled out forms. Fill out an incident report, every detail, every contact. We're building a paper trail. I spent an hour documenting the morning's calls and Tyler's lobby performance. By the time I finished, I'd received 12 texts from unknown numbers, all variations on the same theme. I was selfish, cruel, destroying the family. Madison was dying. Dad was heartbroken. How could I do this? The numbers were extended family. They'd activated the full guilt network. I blocked each number methodically. Aunt Patricia, Uncle Steve cousins I hadn't heard from in years. Every flying monkey in Mom's arsenal deployed to break me down. At 3 o'clock, a new escalation. Patricia, again looking deeply uncomfortable. There's a woman on line 3 claiming to be from Adult Protective Services. Says they received a report about you exploiting a vulnerable adult. Let me guess, the vulnerable adult is Madison. She didn't say. This was new. Weaponizing social services was a level of malicious I hadn't expected. I took the call, recording it on my cell phone just in case. This is Dianne Morrison. Ms. Morrison, I'm calling from the Department of Human Services. We've received a concerning report about financial exploitation of a vulnerable family member. May I have your name and callback number? I'd like to verify this is a legitimate call. Pause. Why would you need to verify? Because someone impersonating a government official is a federal crime, and my family has been harassing me all day. Longer pause. I'll need to call you back. They never did. Jennifer had been listening from her office and immediately called actual Adult Protective Services. They had no record of any report about me. Your family just committed a felony, Jennifer said. Impersonating a government official is serious. They're desperate. They're criminals. There's a difference between family drama and criminal behavior. They've crossed it. By 4 o'clock, the campaign had shifted to social media. Screenshots flooded my inbox from coworkers. Facebook posts from Madison claiming I'd stolen her medical treatment money. Instagram stories from Tyler about his drug-addicted sister who'd abandoned family for a crack house. Mom's carefully worded status about the pain of losing a child to selfishness. Each post was crafted for maximum damage. Photos of Madison looking pale and suffering. Dad slumped in his chair, aging before the camera. Tyler comforting Mom while she dabbed at dry eyes. The comments were brutal. People I'd known my whole life calling me heartless, selfish, probably mentally ill. Suggestions that I needed intervention, rehab, psychological evaluation, the mob mentality in full effect. I didn't respond to any of it. Jennifer helped me adjust privacy settings and document everything for potential legal action, but the damage was spreading. Then came the masterstroke. An email to our clinic's main address, forwarded to Jennifer claiming to be from a concerned family member, reporting that I was stealing drugs from work to feed my addiction, that I'd been seen selling pills in the parking lot, that patient information might be compromised. Jennifer printed it out, shaking her head. They really don't know you at all, do they? What do you mean? Dianne, you're the most straight-laced person here. You won't even take the free drug samples. You made us implement a double-check system for the sample closet because you were worried about accountability. No one who actually knows you would believe this. But they're not targeting people who know me. They're targeting my employment, which is why I'm forwarding this to corporate legal and the police. They want to play stupid games. They're about to win stupid prizes. As I left work, exhausted and shaken, my phone rang. Unknown number, but local. Against my better judgment, I answered. Ms. Morrison, this is James Hartley from Hartley Law. I understand you're having some family difficulties that might benefit from legal intervention. I can't afford a lawyer. You may not need to. I specialize in harassment and defamation cases. What your family's doing, especially the false reports and impersonation, those are criminal acts. We could discuss some cease and desist letter, possibly a restraining order. How did you know about this? Jennifer Chen called me. I've done work for the clinic before. She's concerned about escalation. So am I. Can you come by my office tomorrow? Initial consultation is free. Bring all documentation. I agreed, feeling like I was in a movie. Normal people didn't need lawyers to protect them from family, but then normal families didn't launch coordinated attacks over $900. The drive home to my new house felt like entering a war zone. Would they know where I lived? Would they show up here next? But Maple Street was quiet. The Victorian stood waiting, afternoon light warming its weathered face. Mark's truck was in the driveway. Heard you had a rough day, he said, loading tools. Janet from next door saw the Facebook posts. Neighborhood's pretty riled up about it. Great. Now my new neighbors think I'm terrible too. Other way around, they're mad at your family. Mrs. Chen wants to comment on every post about what really happened. I talked her out of it barely. Strangers defending me while family attacked. The irony was overwhelming. We found something interesting in the basement wall, Mark continued. Want to see? I followed him down where a section of stones had been carefully removed. Behind them, not a tunnel, but a hidden room. Small, maybe 6 by 8 feet, but dry and intact. Prohibition-era hiding spot, Mark explained. See the bottle racks. This was someone's private stash, but look at this. He shined his light on the back wall. Names and dates were carved into the wood. Eleanor plus William, 1943. Sarah loves this house, 1978. For the next keeper, 1995. My throat tightened. Generations of people who'd love this house, leaving their marks for future finders. There's space for more names, Mark said quietly, when you're ready. I touched the carved words, feeling connected across time to people who'd found refuge here. The house had sheltered Eleanor during the Depression, hidden someone's hope during Prohibition, given Sarah a restoration project to love. Now it was sheltering me from my family's cruelty. The murder house that was never about murder at all, just a faithful old Victorian saving people one generation at a time. Thank you, I told Mark, for showing me, for everything. Thank the house. It keeps revealing itself to those who need it most. That night, I sat in my tower room, watching the stars through wavy glass. My phone showed 63 missed calls, 42 texts, and 17 emails. The harassment campaign continued, but it felt distant here, like storm clouds that couldn't quite reach my windows. Tomorrow, I'd meet with a lawyer. I'd file reports. I'd protect myself legally from the people who should have protected me emotionally. But tonight, I carved my name into the hidden room's wall. Dianne Morrison, 2024. The house chose me. Because it had. And no amount of family manipulation could change that truth. Friday morning arrived with a gift, my first paycheck since buying the house. Direct deposit hit at midnight, and I stared at the number like it was winning lottery tickets. $1,400 after taxes. Enough to pay Mark's crew their $300 start an emergency fund and maybe buy an actual bed. But first, the lawyer. James Hartley's office occupied a converted Victorian 2 blocks from my house. The synchronicity wasn't lost on me. His receptionist, an older woman with kind eyes, offered coffee and cookies like I was visiting family. Better treatment than my actual family had given me. Mr. Hartley will see you now. The man behind the desk looked more like a contractor than attorney. Flannel shirtwork boots visible under his desk hands that had seen labor. He stood to shake mine with a firm grip. Jennifer Chen filled me in on the basics, he said, settling back, but I'd like to hear your version. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The ambush dinner, the house purchase, the eviction, the escalating harassment. I'd brought printouts of every text, email, and social media post. He reviewed them with increasing disgust. Your family's not just toxic, they're criminally stupid, he said bluntly. Impersonating federal officials, making false reports to your employer. They've handed us everything needed for restraining orders and potential criminal charges. I don't want to send anyone to jail. You don't have to, but the threat might make them reconsider their behavior. Here's what I propose: cease and desist letters to each family member, formally demanding they stop all contact and harassment. If they violate it, we pursue restraining orders. If they continue the defamation, we sue. How much will this cost? Normally about $2,000 for the package, but I've got a soft spot for people escaping toxic families. Plus, Jennifer's a good client. How about $500 payment plan available? Relief washed through me. I can do that. Good. I'll have letters ready by Monday. Meanwhile, keep documenting everything. And Dianne, you did the right thing buying that house. Sometimes the family we choose is better than the one we're born into. I left feeling protected for the first time all week. The law was on my side, even if blood wasn't. Back home, Mark's crew had multiplied. 3 trucks lined the street, and the house buzzed with activity. Mark met me at the door with a grin. Progress report: electricals fully updated in the main rooms, plumbing solid throughout, and we found something incredible in the attic. He led me upstairs I'd barely explored. The attic was massive, running the full length of the house. Dusty furniture covered in sheets created ghostly mountains in the filtered light. Look at this. Mark pulled a sheet dramatically from what looked like a pile of wood. Instead, it revealed furniture. Beautiful handcrafted furniture, a dining set with 12 chairs carved with the same flower motifs as the main staircase, a bedroom suite that belonged in a museum, side tables, wardrobes, mirrors in ornate frames. Victorian original pieces, one of his crew members breathed. Do you know what this is worth? It's all dry, no rot, no termites, Mark added. This attic's better sealed than most modern houses. These pieces just need cleaning and minor restoration. I touched a chair back, feeling the smooth wood under decades of dust. Eleanor had left more than hope. She'd left treasures. There's more. Another crew member called from the corner. Boxes of China crystal silver services, like someone packed up a whole household and stored it. The depression, I realized. Eleanor's letter mentioned they had nothing when they moved in. This must have been from before, saved for when times got better. Well, times are better now, Mark said. This furniture's yours. We can restore it alongside the house. I was rich in furniture I couldn't have afforded new, the universe's way of balancing what my family had stolen. We spent the afternoon cataloging discoveries: a complete Haviland china set for 12, crystal glasses without a chip, sterling silver that just needed polishing, books, so many books including first editions worth researching. Your $900 investment just became a gold mine, Mark said. This furniture alone restored is worth $30,000, maybe more to the right collectors. I'm not selling it. This is Eleanor's legacy. It stays with the house. He smiled approvingly. Good choice. Let's get it cleaned up and back where it belongs. The crew worked with infectious enthusiasm. By evening, the dining room held its original table and chairs. The living room showcased period-appropriate settees and tables. My empty house was becoming a home with better furniture than I'd ever owned. We should celebrate, Mark announced. Pizza for everyone. I'm buying, I insisted. You've all gone above and beyond. We sat on my wraparound porch eating pizza and watching the sunset. The crew shared stories of other restoration projects, but kept returning to mine with wonder. This house wants to be saved, one said. You can feel it cooperating. Some houses fight you. This one's helping. To Eleanor's house, Mark raised his beer, and to Dianne for saving it. To good bones, Santui, I added, and we all drank. As they packed up, neighbors drifted over. Janet from next door brought cookies. The Chens appeared with a casserole. Soon my porch hosted an impromptu gathering. We saw those awful Facebook posts, Janet said. Your family should be ashamed. They're not capable of shame, I said, surprised by my own honesty. What their loss, Mrs. Chen said firmly. You've done more for this street in 3 days than anyone's done in years. The house looks alive again. Speaking of which, Janet pulled out her phone. Mind if I post some pictures? Show people what you're really doing versus what your family's claiming. I hesitated, then nodded. Time to control my own narrative. She took photos of the restored dining room, the cleaned windows, the crew's work. Within minutes, comments poured in from neighbors expressing support and admiration. The tide was turning. My phone buzzed. Madison. I almost didn't answer, then decided to face whatever came next. Saw the pictures online, she said without preamble. That furniture should be ours. It's family heritage. It came with my house, the one you called garbage. We didn't know about the furniture. Would it have mattered? You made your position clear. I'm dead to you, remember? That was before we knew you were sitting on a fortune. There it was, the only thing that could resurrect me in Madison's eyes, money. There's no fortune, just old furniture that belongs with the house. You could sell one piece and pay for my retreat. The retreat deadline passed days ago. I found another one, better actually, only $1,200 this time. The goalpost had moved. It always did with Madison. No. But you have all that furniture now. You're rich. I have furniture I'm keeping. You have parents who enable you. Work it out with them. They cut off my credit cards because of this mess. Sounds like a personal problem. When did you become such a bitch? Tuesday. You all taught an excellent class. She hung up, but I knew this wasn't over. The furniture discovery would blood in the water for my money-hungry family. Sure enough, within an hour, Mom called. That furniture belongs to the family estate, she announced without greeting. What estate? It was abandoned in a house no one wanted. It's Victorian, probably belonged to our ancestors. Your ancestors were coal miners in Pennsylvania. Try again. Don't get smart with me. We have rights to anything valuable you find. Based on what law? Oh, family law. That's not a thing, Mom. Property law is. I own the house and everything in it. We'll see about that. I'm calling our lawyer. You mean Jim who does your taxes? Good luck with that. I have a real lawyer now, by the way. He'll be sending you some papers. Silence. Then, you wouldn't dare take legal action against your own mother. I wouldn't have to if my own mother hadn't tried to get me fired with false accusations. That was Tyler's idea. And there it was, the first crack in their united front. When consequences loomed, they'd turn on each other. Doesn't matter whose idea it was. You all participated. The letters will explain what happens if you continue. Dianne, please, let's discuss this like family. We're not family anymore. Your choice, remember. I hung up feeling strangely powerful. Each conversation showed me more clearly who they were. Users who only valued what they could take. That evening, I moved furniture from the attic to bedrooms, an actual bed for me with carved headboard and matching dresser. The tower room got a writing desk and chair perfect for watching sunsets. As I made my bed with sheets from the linen closet, another treasure trove of vintage quality, my phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Morrison, this is Dr. Alice Hartman from the County Historical Society. I heard you purchased the Whitman house. Yes. Oh, wonderful. We've been hoping someone would save it. I understand you found original blueprints. We'd love to document the restoration for our archives. Would you consider applying for historical designation? What would that mean? Tax credits for restoration grants, potentially, and protection from future development. The Whitman house is architecturally significant. We've been watching it deteriorate for years. I'd be very interested. Excellent. I'll email you the application. Oh, and Ms. Morrison. My grandmother knew Eleanor Whitman. She'd be so pleased it's being saved by another strong woman. After we hung up, I sat in my tower room processing the day. legal protection arranged, house filling with treasures, community support growing, historical designation possible. My family had kicked me out with garbage bags. The house had caught me with gifts hidden in its bones. Through the wavy glass windows, I watched neighbors walk dogs and children play. Normal life happening on a street where I was building my own normal. My phone showed 18 missed calls from various relatives. The flying monkeys were circling, but I was safe in my tower. Let them shriek into the void. I had furniture to polish and a future to build. The ashes of my old life were fertilizing something entirely new. Saturday at 2 a.m., my phone shrieked to life. I fumbled for it, heart racing, convinced someone had died. Unknown Arizona number. Dianne. Madison's voice, but different. Scared. Small. Real. Madison, what's wrong? I'm stranded. In Sedona. The retreat, it was all fake. They took everyone's money and disappeared. I sat up fully awake. What do you mean, fake? The whole thing was a scam. We got here yesterday. They collected final payments, said the opening ceremony would be at dawn. When we showed up this morning, the building was empty. They cleared out overnight. Did you call the police? Yes, but they said it happens all the time here. Fake spiritual retreats preying on desperate people. They took $12,000 total from our group. I thought it was $900. That was just the deposit, her voice cracked. I borrowed the rest from credit cards Mom doesn't know about. 3 different ones. Max cash advances. The magnitude of her disaster hit me. You borrowed $11,000 for a retreat. It was supposed to transform my life. They had testimonials, professional website, everything looked legitimate. How did you even get to Arizona? Use my last credit card for the flight. It's Max now, too. I'm at a bus stop with $8 to my name. What about the other people? Some had family to call. Others are trying to get emergency funds. She paused. I'm scared, Dianne. Really scared. Not fake scared for sympathy. Actually terrified. This was new. Madison without manipulation, just raw fear. Have you called Mom and Dad? I can't. They think I'm at a local therapy intensive. If they find out I lied, took out secret credit cards, flew to Arizona, Dad will have an actual heart attack. So you called the sister you disowned. You're the only one who might help without destroying me first. The irony was suffocating. After everything they'd done, she was calling me for rescue. Please, she whispered, I know I don't deserve it. I know I've been horrible, but I'm sitting at a bus stop in the desert with no money, no plan, and some really sketchy people starting to notice I'm alone. What's the address? She gave me the location and I pulled up maps on my laptop. Middle of nowhere, Arizona. 2 a.m. there meant midnight locally. There's a Greyhound station 12 miles from you. Can you get there? I don't know. Maybe hitchhike. Absolutely not. Let me think. I pulled up rideshare apps. I'm sending you an Uber. Go straight to the Greyhound station. There's a bus to Columbus leaving at 6 a.m. I'm buying you a ticket. Dianne, I can't pay you back. I know, we'll figure it out later. Right now, just get somewhere safe. I spent the next hour arranging her rescue. Uber to the station, bus ticket home, even a meal voucher for the journey. $340 I couldn't really spare. But what was the alternative? Leave her stranded in the desert. The Uber's 5 minutes away, I told her. Driver's name is Maria, blue Honda. Dianne. Her voice was tiny. Why are you helping me? Because you're my sister. Even when you're terrible, you're still my sister. I've been so awful to you. Yes, you have. And you're still helping. That's the difference between us, Madison. Now get in that Uber and text me when you're safely at the station. While waiting for her confirmation, I made coffee and sat in my restored kitchen. 3 a.m. in my murder house, saving the sister who'd helped kick me out. Life had a twisted sense of humor. My phone buzzed. Tyler. What did you do? He demanded without greeting. Saved Madison from being stranded in Arizona. You're welcome. You gave her money to go there. No, I gave her money to come home. She went there on secret credit cards after your brilliant harassment campaign failed to break me. This is your fault. If you just paid for the original retreat, none of this would have happened. If Madison had accepted that I said no, none of this would have happened. If you all hadn't created elaborate schemes to steal my money, none of this would have happened. Don't blame me for the consequences of your collective cruelty. She's going to be destroyed when Mom finds out. Then maybe don't tell Mom novel concept. Protect Madison instead of exploiting her crisis. Like you protected her. I just spent $300. I don't have to get her home safely. What have you done besides point fingers? He hung up. Typical Tyler, all judgment, no solutions. Madison's text came through at station. Bought food with voucher. Bus board soon. Thank you, doesn't cover it. Just get home safe. We'll talk when you're back. The next morning, I woke to more texts from Madison documenting her bus journey. Pictures of desert landscapes, updates from rest stops. No manipulation, just a scared girl heading home to face consequences. Mom called around noon. Madison says she's at a spa retreat, but her friend Sarah saw her at the Columbus bus station. What's going on? Decision time. Protect Madison's secret or let her face the music. Ask Madison when she gets home. You know something. I know Madison's safe and heading back. The rest is her story to tell. If you're hiding something, like you hid the fact that the harassment campaign was pre-planned, I found Madison's email about Operation Guilt Trip. Silence. That's what I thought. Madison will be home tonight. Try being supportive instead of judgmental. She's gonna need it. I spent Saturday working on the house, trying not to think about the chaos brewing across town. Mark stopped by with cabinet hardware samples, and we talked about kitchen restoration while my phone buzzed with ignored calls. Sunday morning, Madison showed up at my door. She looked terrible. Hair unwashed, clothes, wrinkled eyes swollen from crying. The confident manipulator replaced by a broken young woman. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She entered, slowly taking in the restored rooms. It's beautiful, she whispered. Not a murder house at all. Never was. Want coffee? We sat at Eleanor's dining table while she told me everything. The retreat's elaborate website, fake testimonials from paid actors, how professional the scam was. 12 people bilked out of thousands each. The FBI's investigating now. Apparently, this group's been running the same scam across multiple states. So you might get some money back. Maybe, eventually, but the credit cards are still maxed. $14,000 in debt I can't pay. Have you told Mom and Dad? Last night. Dad didn't have a heart attack, but he did say I'm cut off completely. No more money ever. Mom cried for 3 hours about where she went wrong. Where did she go wrong? Madison looked at me sharply, then deflated. By never letting me fail. Every time I messed up, they fixed it. I never learned consequences because they protected me from all of them. Until now. Self-awareness from Madison. The apocalypse must be near. What's your plan? I don't know. I need a job, but I haven't worked in 2 years. My resume's a disaster. I'm 26 with $14,000 in debt and no skills. You have skills. You just haven't developed them. Like what? You organized that entire guilt trip campaign, coordinated multiple people, created strategies, executed plans. Those are project management skills. She stared at me. You're really going to help me after everything? I'm going to tell you the truth, which is more than Mom and Dad ever did. You're capable of more than you think, but you have to actually try. No more shortcuts, no more manipulation, no more expecting rescue. I don't know how to be different. Start by getting a job, any job, Starbucks, retail, whatever. Begin rebuilding. Could you help me with my resume? Yes, but you do the work. I'll guide, not do it for you. We spent the afternoon crafting a resume that was honest but highlighted her potential, event planning from her sorority days, fundraising experience from charity galas. Mom made her attend social media skills from her influence attempts. "This actually looks legitimate," she said, surprised. "Because you're actually legitimate when you're not playing victim." Her phone buzzed. "Mom." "I should go. They're probably wondering where I am." "Madison, that retreat leader you wanted me to pay if I had, you'd have given them $900 more to steal." She paused at the door. "You saved me twice. Once from giving them money, once from being stranded. I'm starting to think your no was the best thing that happened to me." After she left, I sat in my tower room processing the reversal. The family villain had become the only one who actually helped when disaster struck. The money they'd tried to guilt from me would have just enriched scammers. My phone rang. Jennifer from work. "Dianne, I know it's Sunday, but I wanted you to know the clinic's lawyers sent formal warnings to your family about the harassment. Any further contact with your employer will result in criminal charges." "Thank you. That's a relief. How are you doing otherwise?" I looked around my slowly restoration home, thought about Madison's visit, the neighbors who'd become friends. "Better than I expected. My murder house is saving me." "Good houses do that. See you tomorrow." That evening, I got one final text from Madison. "Applied to 6 jobs online. Interview at Target Tuesday. Thank you for believing I could." The retreat that was supposed to transform her had been fake. The transformation happening now, built on failure and consequences, was real. And somehow I'd become part of her actual healing by refusing to enable the false version. The house creaked around me, settling into another night. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight I'd helped my sister despite everything. Not with money that would have been stolen, but with truth that might actually save her. Sometimes the best help is the help you don't give. My family was learning that lesson the hard way. Monday morning arrived with the sound of multiple trucks pulling up outside. Mark's crew had multiplied again, and I counted 8 people unloading equipment. Something big was happening. "Morning, homeowner." Mark grinned as I opened the door. "Ready for the real treasure hunt." "What do you mean?" "Remember those blueprints showing a tunnel entrance? We're going in today. But first, look what the Historical Society sent over." He handed me a manila envelope stuffed with documents. Original permits, newspaper clippings, and photographs dating back to the 1890s. The house's entire history laid out in black and white. This place was a stop on the Underground Railroad. I breathed reading an 1850s account, before it was even finished being built. Well, it gets better. During Prohibition, that tunnel connected to a speakeasy 2 blocks away. Your basement was the storage and distribution center for half the county's illegal liquor. Eleanor's family were bootleggers. Eleanor's father-in-law was the biggest bootlegger in 3 counties. Made a fortune, lost it in the crash, but the house survived because of the connections he built. Literally, that tunnel system is why the foundation's so overbuilt. We descended to the basement where his crew had cleared the eastern wall. The stones Mark had identified were removed, revealing a proper archway and the beginning of a brick-lined tunnel. "We need to check structural integrity before anyone goes far," Mark warned. "But look at this craftsmanship. Hand-laid brick, perfectly arched, still solid after a century." I shined my flashlight into the darkness, imagining escapees from slavery, finding refuge bootleggers rolling barrels of whiskey, Eleanor's family surviving the Depression through illegal liquor sales. The murder house's reputation suddenly made sense, built on whispered secrets of its illegal past. "There's more," one crew member called from the opposite corner. "Found another hidden room behind the wine racks." We crowded around as he demonstrated a mechanism that swung the entire rack outward. Behind it, a room the size of a modern bedroom opened up, lined with shelves still holding dusty bottles. "Prohibition-era whiskey," Mark whistled. "Do you know what collectors pay for this?" I picked up a bottle heavy with history. The label was handwritten, Whitman Reserve 1925. Eleanor's father-in-law made this. Look closer. Mark pointed to smaller text. Bottled by E. Whitman. Eleanor herself was involved in the operation. Sweet, grandmotherly Eleanor, who left me encouraging notes, had been a bootlegger. I laughed at the beautiful absurdity of it all. We catalogued over 200 bottles, plus wooden crates marked with destinations across the Midwest. The Historical Society would have a field day with this discovery. Conservative estimate. Mark calculated. 50,000 in vintage liquor, more if marketed right to collectors and museums. I'm not selling history. Then display it. This could be part of the historical tours. People love prohibition stories. As the crew photographed everything for documentation, I explored the hidden room further. In the back corner, a desk held leather-bound ledgers. Eleanor's handwriting filled pages with sales figures, client names, and distribution routes. One entry stopped me cold. Morrison Funeral Home, 12 cases monthly hidden in coffin compartments. Morrison, my family name. My ancestors had been involved too. Find something? Mark noticed my shock. I showed him the entry. He whistled again. Your family was in business with Eleanor's family. That explains the architectural drawings by Sarah Morrison in the 70s. She was preserving family history. Family I never knew about. Dad never mentioned any of this. Prohibition was shameful for a lot of families afterward. They buried that history. Like they'd tried to bury me for not conforming to their expectations. My phone buzzed. The lawyer. Cease and desist letters were delivered this morning, James Hartley reported. Your mother tried to refuse hers. Your father signed for it eventually. Your brother wasn't home, but will try again. What happens now? They have formal notice that any further harassment, defamation, or contact with your employer will result in legal action. The ball's in their court. Think they'll comply? Depends how much they value avoiding criminal charges. I've seen families back down once lawyers are involved. Real consequences tend to clarify thinking. I hoped he was right, but doubted my family's ability to think clearly where money was involved. Back in the basement, more discoveries emerged. The tunnel was clear for about 50 feet before debris blocked further exploration. But those 50 feet revealed alcoves carved into the walls, each sized perfectly for whiskey crates or huddled humans seeking freedom. We'll need professional excavation to go further, Mark said, but this is incredible. Museum-quality preservation of Prohibition-era infrastructure. And underground railroad history, I added. Those alcoves are older than the bootlegging modifications. Your $900 house just became priceless. Historically significant properties with intact original features museums will be fighting to partner with you. By lunch, word had spread. Janet from next door brought sandwiches for the crew, eager for updates. The Chens appeared with their own family stories about the neighborhood during Prohibition. Soon my basement hosted an impromptu historical society meeting. My grandfather bought moonshine from the Whitmans. One elderly neighbor recalled, said it was the smoothest whiskey in the state. Eleanor herself handled the books, never missed a payment. The Morrison Funeral Home was the distribution hub, another added. Hearses could transport liquor without suspicion. Brilliant operation. My family's secret history unfolded through neighbors' memories. The respectable funeral directors by day, bootlegging partners by night. The Morrison-Whitman alliance that built fortunes and saved families during desperate times. Why doesn't anyone talk about this? I asked. Shame, Janet said simply. After Prohibition ended, everyone wanted to forget their illegal years. The Morrisons especially worked hard to become respectable again. Guess they succeeded too well if you never knew. That afternoon, while the crew documented discoveries, I researched my own family history with new eyes. The funeral home Tyler now worked at had been founded with bootlegging money. Mom's precious respectability was built on illegal liquor sales. Their judgment of my choices seemed even more hypocritical now. Madison texted, "Interview went well. Second round Thursday. Also found a bankruptcy lawyer who will work with payment plans. Taking responsibility feels weird, but good." At least one family member was growing. I sent back encouragement and returned to the treasures in my basement. By evening, we'd found 3 more hidden compartments containing everything from vintage photographs to gold coins. Each discovery connected to the house's layered history sanctuary speakeasy survival. "Local news wants to do a story," Mark mentioned as they packed up. "Historical house renovation, prohibition discoveries. Young woman saving architectural treasure. You interested? Will it help with historical designation?" "Definitely. Public interest helps push paperwork through." "Then yes." That night, I ate dinner at Eleanor's dining table, surrounded by her bootlegging ledgers. The proper grandmother who died peacefully in her bed had lived a life of acceptable crime using profits to help neighbors survive the Depression. The parallels to my situation felt deliberate, like Eleanor had chosen me specifically. Another woman using unconventional means to save herself, and others facing family condemnation for choosing survival over propriety. My phone rang, Mom despite the cease and desist letter. "You need to know what you've done to this family," she started. "Mom, you got the lawyer's letter. You're not supposed to contact me." "I don't care about lawyers. Madison's working at Target. Do you know how humiliating that is?" "More or less humiliating than bankruptcy from fraud victim debt." "She wouldn't have debt if you'd helped her. She'd have given my $900 to criminals and still had debt. How is that better? At least she'd have hope. She has hope now. Real hope from actual change, not false promises from scammers. You've poisoned her against us. First you abandoned the family, now you're turning Madison into someone we don't recognize. Someone with a job who's taking responsibility for her choices. How terrible." "Don't mock me, Dianne. I know what you're doing in that house. Janet posts everything online. You're flaunting your discoveries, rubbing our faces in your success." "I'm restoring a historical property. You're the one making it about you." "Those bottles belong to the Morrison estate." There it was. She'd seen posts about the whiskey discovery, and dollar signs had appeared. "The bottles belong to whoever owns the house where they were hidden. That's me. Our family name is on those ledgers. We have claims." "Your family name is on illegal bootlegging records. Sure you want to claim that publicly?" Silence. Then, "This isn't over. That house was built with Morrison money, too." "Prove it." "Oh, wait, you can't, because your family destroyed all records of their illegal activities. Shame about that respectability, isn't it?" She hung up, but I knew she was right. This wasn't over. The discoveries had changed the game. Now they weren't just after my savings. They wanted the treasures in my house. I called the lawyer and left a message about Mom's contact. Then I deadbolted every door, checked every window, and activated the security system Mark had installed. The murder house had revealed its secrets to me, trusted me with its hidden history. I wouldn't let my family plunder it like they'd tried to plunder me. In the tower room, I watched the street until midnight. Nothing stirred, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the real storm was just beginning. The cease and desist letters were paper shields against people who'd proven they'd cross any boundary. The house settled around me with protective sounds. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. The bootlegger's daughter and the funeral director's descendant allied across time through the home that had saved us both. 2 weeks passed in relative peace. The cease and desist letters had worked like electric fences, keeping my family at bay while I focused on restoration. The house bloomed under attention like a garden after rain. Then Thursday afternoon, everything changed. I was stripping paint from the parlor moldings when Mark knocked. His expression made my stomach drop. "What's wrong?" "Maybe nothing, but my cousin works at First National Bank. Says your family's in serious trouble." "What kind of trouble?" "Your dad's company announced layoffs yesterday. He's been there 23 years, but middle management's getting cut. Your mom's boutique—" He hesitated. "There's a foreclosure notice posted." I set down my scraper, mind racing. Mom's boutique was her pride, the source of her social status. Dad's job had seemed secure as granite. There's more. Tyler's been banned from the casino. Apparently, he owes significant money to some unfriendly people. How significant? My cousin heard 6 figures. I sank onto the restored window seat. While I'd been finding treasures in my basement, my family's kingdom had been crumbling. The timing felt cosmic, like the universe balancing scales. Thanks for telling me. Thought you should know, in case they... He didn't finish, but we both knew. Desperate people did dangerous things. That evening, I researched public records online. The boutique had 3 tax liens. Dad's company stock had plummeted after announcing restructuring. Tyler's name appeared in court documents for defaulted loans. My phone rang. Madison. Did you hear? She sounded breathless. About the financial situation, yes. It's worse than you know. Mom's been hiding losses for months. The boutique's been operating at a deficit since last year. She kept buying inventory on credit, hoping for a turnaround. How do you know this? I've been helping with her books, trying to learn business skills. Dianne, she owes almost $200,000. The house is collateral. Their perfect suburban colonial, the monument to respectability, was on the line. What about Dad's severance? 2 months' pay, not enough to save anything. And Tyler? She paused. Tyler's been stealing from the funeral home. Dad just found out today. The funeral home, the family business built on bootlegging money, where Tyler worked because no one else would hire him. How much? $70,000, embezzled over 2 years to feed his gambling. The owners want to press charges unless Dad makes it whole. The math was staggering. $500,000 in combined debt and criminal liability. The family that had disowned me for refusing to give them $900 was drowning in zeros. What are they planning to do? That's why I'm calling. Madison's voice dropped. I overheard them talking about your house, about the bottles, the furniture, everything you found. Dad says family property was used to build the house, so they have ownership claims. That's ridiculous. They've already called 3 lawyers. One thinks they might have a case if they can prove Morrison money or labor went into the original construction. All they'd prove is their ancestors were criminals too. They don't care anymore. Respectable doesn't pay bills. Dianne, they're desperate, like scary, desperate. Mom hasn't slept in days. Dad's aged 10 years and 2 weeks. And Tyler? What about Tyler? He's been parked outside your house. My blood chilled. What? Not all the time, but he drives by, takes pictures. He told Mom there's expensive construction equipment in your driveway, tools they could sell. He wouldn't dare. The Tyler we knew wouldn't. This Tyler, he owes money to people who break fingers. I moved to the tower windows, scanning the street. No familiar cars, but that didn't mean anything. Madison, if they try anything, I'll warn you. It's the least I can do. You saved me when I was stupid. Maybe I can return the favor. After we hung up, I called Mark about securing the construction equipment, then the lawyer about the ownership claims. Finally, I installed motion sensor lights around the property. The murder house needed to become a fortress. Friday brought confirmation of my fears. A process server delivered papers my family was suing for return of family property wrongfully detained. They claimed the Morrison family had invested in the house's construction and never received proper compensation. James Hartley reviewed the lawsuit with barely concealed disgust. This is tissue paper. They have no documentation, no proof, just family legend and desperation. We'll file for dismissal. How long will that take? Few months, unless they find something. Any old document, contract, even a letter mentioning Morrison investment could complicate things. I thought about the bootlegging ledgers in my basement. Evidence of the Morrison-Whitman partnership, but for illegal enterprise. Would my family really expose their criminal history to steal from me? In the meantime, James continued, document everything. Every improvement, every expense. If they want to play property games, we'll show the court who's actually investing in this house. That weekend, I worked with new urgency. The Historical Society had approved my designation application, but paperwork moved slowly. I needed the house legally protected before my family found a judge sympathetic to their sob story. Sunday afternoon, while cataloging bottles in the basement, I heard footsteps above, heavy, unfamiliar, not Mark's crew who'd gone home Friday. I grabbed my phone and the baseball bat Mark had insisted I keep handy. Creeping up the stairs, I heard drawers opening in the kitchen. Tyler stood with his back to me, rifling through the restored cabinets. A duffel bag sat at his feet, already bulging with silver pieces from the dining room. "Put it back!" He spun around, face gaunt and desperate. This wasn't my cocky brother. This was an addict who owed money to dangerous people. "Dianne, I thought you were at work. It's Sunday. Put everything back." "I can't. You don't understand. They'll hurt me." "Then you should have thought of that before stealing from the funeral home." His face crumpled. I know I messed up, but I'm your brother." "No, you were my brother. Then you chose to help destroy my life over $900. Now you're just a burglar in my house." "I'm desperate." "So was I when Mom threw my belongings in garbage bags. Where was brotherly concern then?" He glanced at the duffel bag, calculating. Could he grab it and run? I lifted the bat slightly. "I'm calling the police." "Wait. Real fear now. I'll put it back. Everything. Just please don't call." "Why shouldn't I? You tried to get me fired. You called me a drug addict publicly. You're literally robbing me right now." "Because..." He sank into a chair, the bravado finally gone. "Because you're right. About everything. We're monsters. We turned into monsters fighting over money that was never ours." "Epiphanies don't erase actions, Tyler." "I know." He started unpacking the bag, hands shaking as he returned each piece. "Did Madison tell you how bad it is?" "Yes." "Did she tell you Mom mortgaged the house for the boutique that Dad's been borrowing from his retirement to cover her losses, that I'm probably going to jail?" "She mentioned the highlights." "Oh, we're finished. The whole perfect Morrison family image gone, and you know what the really sick part is?" I waited. "You tried to warn us. Years of you saying Madison needed boundaries, Mom's boutique was overextended, I was gambling too much. We called you jealous, controlling a killjoy, but you saw what we refused to see." "And now you want my sympathy?" "No, I want..." He paused, searching for words. "I want to know how you did it, how you walked away from us and survived, because I don't think I can." "I had $900 and a house everyone called worthless. I survived because I had to. We have nothing, less than nothing, debt that will bury us for decades." "Then you'll figure it out, like Madison is. Get a job, make payment plans, take responsibility." "Easy for you to say from your treasure-filled mansion." The old resentment flared in his voice. I stood firm. "This treasure-filled mansion that you mocked, that Mom said I'd live in like junk, that you're actively trying to steal from that mansion." He finished emptying the bag, shoulders slumped. "Can I ask one favor?" "You can ask." "Don't tell Mom and Dad about today. They've got enough shame." Leave. Don't come back without invitation. If I see you on my property again, I call the police. That's the only favor you get." He trudged out like a beaten dog. I changed the locks that afternoon and installed security cameras. Family or not, trust was extinct. That evening, Madison called with updates. The foreclosure was proceeding on both the boutique and the family home. Dad's severance had gone to lawyers. Mom had sold her jewelry and was eyeing the furniture. "She wants to ask you for a loan," Madison warned. "A big one. She thinks if you can afford renovation, you must have hidden money." "The renovation's being done on credit and sweat equity. I have no hidden money." I told her that. She didn't believe me. Said you were always secretive about finances. "Because they always wanted them." Being private about money isn't secretive when your family treats you like an ATM. I know that now. Wish I'd known it before. The transformation in Madison continued to amaze me. Crisis had burned away her manipulative tendencies, revealing someone capable of growth. If only the rest of the family could follow suit. But Monday's mail brought proof they'd chosen another path. A letter from a genealogy researcher they'd hired claiming to have found promising leads about Morrison investment in the Whitman property. The war was escalating. They'd lost everything else, so they were coming for the only thing I had left, my home. I stood in my tower room that night, looking out at the street I had grown to love. Neighbors who brought casseroles, contractors who worked on faith of a community that had embraced me when my blood family cast me out. Let them come. Eleanor's house had survived the Civil War, the Depression, decades of abandonment. It would survive the Morrison family extinction burst too. But I double-checked the locks anyway. Tuesday morning shattered like glass. I woke to voices in my yard, harsh and demanding. Through the tower window, I saw them, Mom, Dad, Tyler, and two men I didn't recognize. One carried a clipboard, the other a video camera. I dressed quickly and met them on the porch. "This is private property. You're trespassing." "Not for long," Mom said, chin raised in familiar defiance. "This is Mr. Hartwell, genealogist, and Mr. Frame, property assessor. We're documenting our family assets." "Your family assets are in foreclosure. This is my asset." The genealogist stepped forward. "Ms. Morrison, I've found compelling evidence that Morrison family funds were used in this home's construction, specifically a $10,000 investment in 1891. He produced photocopies of old documents, bank transfers, ledger entries, a contract between Josiah Morrison and William Whitman. "Where did you find these?" "The State Historical Archive. Your family's connection to this property is documented fact." I studied the papers, mind racing. Then I saw it, the purpose of the investment. Tunnel construction for mutual business ventures. "Exactly," Mom crowed. "Morrison money built this house." "Morrison money built tunnels for bootlegging. You're claiming ownership based on criminal enterprise." The assessor was already photographing the house. "Beautiful restoration work. These improvements alone must be worth $100,000. "Stop filming my house." "Document everything," Dad instructed, speaking for the first time. He looked haggard, defeat etched in every line. "We need accurate valuation for the lawsuit." "You mean for your bankruptcy, filing hard to hide assets in a lawsuit when you're claiming poverty to creditors?" Dad's face darkened. "You always were too smart for your own good. Smart enough to know this won't work. Even if you prove Morrison investment, the statute of limitations on property claims expired decades ago." "Not if we can prove ongoing family interest," the genealogist said. "Continuous connection to the property. For instance, Sarah Morrison's architectural work in 1978. Work she was paid for. I have the receipts." Mom stepped closer. "Dianne, why are you doing this? We're drowning. Your father's lost everything. My business is gone. Tyler needs help, and you're sitting on a gold mine." "A gold mine I bought with money you tried to steal from Madison's fake retreat. That's in the past." 2 weeks is not the past. It's barely history." Tyler hadn't spoken, standing apart from the group. His eyes kept darting to the street like he expected someone to appear, the dangerous people Madison mentioned. "Let's go inside," Mom demanded. "See what you've done with our family heritage." "Absolutely not." "A judge might feel differently," the assessor said, "especially seeing how extensively you've exploited discoveries that rightfully belong to me. They belong to me because I bought this house when everyone said it was worthless. I paid for restoration. I'm the one sleeping on floors and working overtime to afford repairs. With furniture that should be ours." Mom's composure cracked. "Eleanor Whitman's belongings bought with profits from business with our family. Illegal business you've spent 50 years denying." Times were different then. But shame is forever right. That's why you destroyed all records, pretended the Morrison fortune came from honest funeral work instead of bootlegging. Now you want to claim the criminal parts because you're desperate. Dad pulled out his phone. I'm calling our lawyer. Dianne, you can cooperate or we can force. The scream cut him off. Not a normal scream. Pure terror coming from the backyard. We all ran toward the sound. Tyler had gone around back, probably looking for another way in. Now he stood frozen at the basement entrance, face white as paper. What's wrong? Dad reached him first. Tyler pointed with a shaking hand. The basement door stood open, lock broken. Inside, chaos. Bottles smashed, furniture overturned, ledgers scattered. Thousands of dollars in historical artifacts destroyed. No, I breathed, pushing past them. The hidden room was worse. Empty shelves where whiskey bottles had stood. The desk, ransacked, drawers pulled out. Who did this? Mom whispered. Tyler wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. I might have mentioned the bottles to the wrong people. You told criminals about my basement full of valuable whiskey. I owed them money. They wanted to know about assets, family resources. I didn't think they'd break in and steal everything. Dad grabbed Tyler's shoulder. What did you do? I needed to give them something. They were going to break my legs. I pulled out my phone to call police, but Mom stopped me. Wait, if you report this, Tyler's connection comes out. He'll definitely go to jail. He should go to jail. He gave criminals information that led to them robbing me. He's your brother. He's a thief who enabled other thieves. I made the call anyway. While waiting for police, I surveyed the damage. Beyond the stolen bottles, they destroyed irreplaceable history. Eleanor's ledgers, torn apart photographs scattered, and stepped on furniture that survived a century, broken in minutes. The police took statements from everyone. Tyler admitted telling his creditors about the house, but claimed he never thought they'd act on it. The detective looked skeptical. These creditors have names. Tyler mumbled something about not being sure, maybe Tony, something. The detective's expression suggested he'd heard this story before. So you owe money to people whose names you don't know. It's complicated. It always is. Ms. Morrison will process the scene, but recovering stolen goods from these types, he shrugged. I'd focus on insurance claims. I don't have insurance yet. Still getting quotes. Mom gasped. You don't have insurance on all this valuable property. I've owned the house for 3 weeks. Insurance was next on the list after basic repairs. The police continued their investigation while my family huddled on the lawn. The assessor and genealogist had vanished when law enforcement arrived. Apparently, documenting crime scenes wasn't in their contract. This is a disaster, Dad muttered. Tyler, how could you? Leslie, how could you borrow against retirement without telling Mom? How could she mortgage the house for a failing business? We're all disasters. Don't deflect, Mom snapped. You're gambling. You're spending. Your embezzlement? I watched them turn on each other like hungry wolves. The united front against me had crumbled, revealing the dysfunction beneath. Madison arrived as the police were leaving. She took in the scene, the broken basement door, our family arguing on the lawn, and me standing apart from it all. I'll help clean up, she offered quietly. We worked in silence, salvaging what we could. Many bottles had survived, hidden in corners the thieves missed. The furniture could be repaired. But the sense of safety, the sanctuary the house had provided, lay in pieces like the broken glass. They're not going to stop, Madison said as we swept debris. Mom and Dad, they'll keep coming at you legally, and now Tyler's friends know the address. Then I'll fight legally and upgrade security. I'm not giving up this house. Even if staying puts you in danger. I looked around the basement where Eleanor had hidden escaped slaves and illegal whiskey, where generations had found refuge from various storms. This house has protected people for over a century. It's my turn to protect it. By evening, we'd cleared the worst damage. My family had slunk away after the police finished questioning Tyler. No apologies, no offers to help, just resentment that I'd involved law enforcement. Mark arrived with reinforcement steel bars for the basement window's motion sensors and a new security system. Heard what happened? The neighborhood's furious. Mrs. Chen wants to organize a watch group. Tyler gave the thieves information, his gambling debts. Mark's face hardened. Your brother did this. Inadvertently, but yes. And your family still expects you to help them. They expect me to give them the house. Over my dead body, this house is staying right where it belongs, with someone who loves it. We worked until midnight installing security measures. Every window, every door, every possible entrance now monitored and protected. The murder house had become a fortress, but at least it was a safe fortress. Madison helped until the end, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about all of it. The guilt trip, the harassment, the lawsuit, we became people I don't recognize. You recognized it in time. That's what matters. Too late to save the family, though. I thought about that as she left. The Morrison family built on bootlegging money and respectability lies was crumbling. But from its ashes, at least, Madison and I were building something honest. The house settled around me that night with new sounds, security system beeps, and reinforced locks clicking. Not the peaceful sanctuary I'd found 3 weeks ago, but still mine. Still standing. In the tower room, I kept watch until dawn. Whatever came next, they wouldn't catch me sleeping again. Wednesday morning brought lawyers. Not just James Hartley, my defender, but a whole parade of legal vultures circling my family's carrion. I watched from the porch as 3 different law firms left notices at the old Morrison house. Foreclosure proceedings, bankruptcy papers, criminal indictment threats. The empire was falling faster now. Ms. Morrison. A woman in an expensive suit approached my gate. Patricia Wells from Wells and Associates. I'm representing your brother Tyler in his embezzlement case. I can't help you. Actually, you can. Tyler says you have documentation about historical Morrison family enterprises that might provide context for his actions. Context. He stole $70,000. The context is he's a thief. He's also looking at 10 years in prison unless we can negotiate. Your parents have no resources left for his defense. Still not my problem. She studied me with sharp eyes. Your brother also has information about last night's break-in that might interest police. Names, addresses, details he's afraid to share without protection. So he's withholding evidence about a crime he facilitated ad obstruction to his charges. Or, she said carefully, he could cooperate fully in exchange for consideration, but he needs family support. He has parents. Talk to them. Your parents filed for bankruptcy this morning. Your mother's asking the court to let her keep 1 car and basic furniture. They can't even afford groceries, much less lawyers. The news should have sparked sympathy. Instead, I felt only exhaustion. Tyler made his choices. So did they. She left a business card anyway. As her Mercedes pulled away, Madison's beat-up Honda took its place. I got the job. She practically glowed. Full-time at Target with benefits. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. That's wonderful, really. There's more. I've been talking to other retreat scam victims online. We're organizing a class action lawsuit. The FBI found the organizers in Mexico. So you might recover something. Maybe, but even if not, I'm done waiting for rescue. I'm rescuing myself. We sat on the porch steps, watching the neighborhood wake up, such normal life happening while our family imploded. Mom called me 6 times this morning, Madison said. She wants me to quit the job, says it's beneath a Morrison to work retail. The Morrisons were bootleggers. Retail is a step up. That's what I told her. She hung up on me. Welcome to the disowned club. We have jackets. She laughed, but it was sad. Tyler's in real trouble. His lawyer says without a plea deal, he's going away for serious time. He stole from grieving families. He deserves serious time. I know, it's just, remember when he was little, always following us around wanting to be included. I remember him breaking my toys when he didn't get his way. The patterns were always there. A moving truck rumbled past, heading for the Morrison house. Through the trees, I could see furniture being loaded, the estate sale beginning. They're selling everything, Madison confirmed. China silver, even Mom's wedding dress. Dad aged 10 years overnight. They could have asked for help differently, approached me with honesty instead of manipulation. Would you have helped? We'll never know now. Mark arrived with restoration updates and security footage from last night. The cameras had caught the thieves, clearly 3 men who'd spent 20 minutes in my basement. Good news is they're identifiable. Bad news is they look professional. This wasn't random. Tyler told them exactly what to take. His gambling debts just became my loss. About $30,000 worth based on the missing inventory, though the historical value is irreplaceable. I thought about Eleanor's ledgers, torn and scattered, pieces of history destroyed for quick cash that would go straight into criminal pockets. Can we salvage anything? Already started. Found intact bottles they missed, and most of the furniture just needs repair. The documents... He shook his head. I'm photographing every scrap, but reconstruction will take months. Do it, whatever it cost. Speaking of cost, the Historical Society heard about the break-in. They're expediting your designation. Once approved, you'll have access to preservation grants. One bright spot in the darkness. We spent the morning planning repairs while Madison helped sort damaged documents. The work felt therapeutic, building something while everything else crumbled. Around noon, Dad appeared at my gate, alone, which was unusual. His shirt was wrinkled hair uncombed. The principal perfectionist looked broken. Can we talk? I met him at the gate but didn't open it. About what? Everything. Tyler, your mother, the house, how it all went wrong. You know how it went wrong. Years of enabling dysfunction instead of addressing it. I know. The admission seemed to pain him physically. I know we failed. Failed Tyler, failed Madison, failed you. Knowing and changing are different things. Your mother won't speak to me, says I should have controlled Tyler better. I say she should have controlled her spending. We're filing for divorce. The news hit harder than expected. 35 years of marriage ending in bankruptcy and blame. I'm sorry. We tried to destroy you 3 weeks ago. You're still my father. Watching your life implode brings no joy. He gripped the gate bars like a prisoner. The boutique was hemorrhaging money for 2 years. She hid it, taking credit advances, lying about sales. I was so focused on Tyler's gambling, I missed her shopping addiction. You were both focused on Madison's drama, classic misdirection. While you were focused on building something real, he looked at the house with new eyes. It's beautiful, what you've done here. What I'm still doing, despite everyone's attempts to stop me. The lawsuit was your mother's idea. I just went along, like always. And Tyler's theft from the funeral home started small, petty cash, tiny amounts. By the time I noticed, it was too late. 50,000 gone. 70,000, his lawyer told me. Dad's face crumpled. 70. My God, how did we raise such children? Madison's turning it around, working honest jobs, taking responsibility. There's hope for her. But not Tyler. Tyler gave criminals my address, my safe space. That's unforgivable. I know. Believe me, I know. He's my son and I love him, but I don't like who he's become. Maybe prison will make him worse, probably, but that's not your problem anymore. We stood in uncomfortable silence. The man who'd thrown me out with garbage bags seeking what forgiveness, understanding, just someone to witness his downfall. I should go, he finally said. Your mother's lawyer wants the house emptied by Friday. So many things to sort through. Their dad, the Morrison bootlegging fortune. He stopped walking. What about it? You knew all along, the connection to this house, the criminal enterprises. You knew. My grandfather told stories, but we decided respectability mattered more than history. Burned the records, created new narrative. The American dream built on lies. Until the lies caught up. Until the lies caught up, he agreed, and walked away looking older than his years. That afternoon, I learned Tyler had made a deal. Full cooperation with police about the gambling ring in exchange for reduced charges. 5 years instead of 10, minimum security possibility of early release. His cooperation included detailed testimony about who'd robbed me. 3 arrests by evening, though the stolen whiskey was long gone, probably already sold to collectors who didn't ask questions. Mom called despite the cease and desist. You did this. Turned Tyler against his own family. Tyler did this by stealing and gambling. He's going to prison, my baby boy. Your baby boy is 31 years old. Time he faced consequences. Consequences you created by involving police. Consequences he created by giving criminals my address. They destroyed Eleanor's records. Mom. Pieces of history that can't be replaced. Be history. You care more about dead people's possessions than your living brother. I care about both. Tyler chose to endanger one for the other. She hung up, but not before I heard sobbing. Real tears this time, not manipulation. The weight of losing everything hitting at once. That night, Madison and I ate dinner at Eleanor's restored table. She'd brought Chinese takeout to celebrate her first day of work. Orientation was actually fun, she said, still amazed. They have advancement programs, education benefits. I could become a department manager in a year if I work hard. Look at you making plans based on effort instead of schemes. Revolutionary concept. Who knew working for money felt better than begging for it? Everyone who's never had an enabler. We talked about her bankruptcy, filing the class action suit, her small apartment that she'd earned herself. The sister I'd never really known was emerging from Madison's wreckage. Mom asked me to spy on you, she admitted over fortune cookies. Report what you have, what you're doing, anything useful for the lawsuit. And I told her I was done being the family flying monkey. She said I was ungrateful. I said I was finally grateful for the right things. Like what? Like a sister who saved me when I was stupid, even after I tried to destroy her. That's worth more than any retreat. We cleaned up together 2 Morrison girls who'd chosen different paths than destruction. The house felt peaceful again, despite the morning's drama. Tyler's going to prison, Madison said quietly. Mom's having a breakdown. Dad's moving into a studio apartment. Our family's done. The toxic version is done. What we build from here is up to us. Think we can build something better. I looked around the kitchen where Eleanor had fed neighbors during the Depression, where bootleggers had planned survival, where I was surviving my own family's implosion. I know we can. We already are. She hugged me goodbye, promising to help with restoration work on weekends. After she left, I stood in my tower room watching the stars. Tomorrow would bring more lawyers, more drama, more attempts to claim what I'd earned. But tonight, I had peace. The kind that comes from watching lies collapse while truth stands firm. The murder house had witnessed another death, the Morrison family mythology. But from those ashes, something honest was already growing. Sunday arrived with unexpected visitors. I was repairing torn ledger pages when an elderly woman appeared at my gate, accompanied by someone who could only be her daughter. Both carried themselves with the quiet dignity of people who'd lived through real hardship. Miss Morrison, I'm Eleanor Whitman's friend, Martha Hartwell. This is my daughter, Grace. My hands stilled on the documents, the Eleanor who'd left me the house. Please come in. Martha moved carefully but purposefully, eyes taking in every restoration detail. In the living room, she touched the mantelpiece with recognition. Just like it was, Eleanor would be so pleased. You visited often? Every Tuesday for 40 years. Coffee in this room, stories about the old days. She settled into a chair like she belonged there. I heard about your family troubles. Came to set some records straight. What records? Grace pulled out a wooden box. Mothers kept these for decades, waiting for the right moment. We think this is it. Inside letters, photographs and documents dating back to the 1940s. Martha's hands trembled as she sorted through them. Your family's been lying to you, dear, about everything. I'm beginning to realize that. No deeper lies than recent ones. She pulled out a photograph Eleanor Whitman with another woman, both young, both smiling. That's your grandmother, Rose Morrison, Eleanor's best friend. They knew each other. They were inseparable. Rose lived here for 2 years during the Depression. Your grandfather had abandoned her with 3 small children. Eleanor took them in. My world tilted. Grandmother lived here. In the tower room, Eleanor's parents had died, left her the house but no money. Rose had children but no shelter. They survived together, bootlegging operation and all. She showed me more photos. My father as a toddler playing in this very room. My aunts on the porch steps. My family's real history hidden in plain sight. But the Morrison money that built the house never existed. The Morrisons were dirt poor until bootlegging. It was Whitman money and architecture. Your family invested later in the tunnels, but only after Eleanor proved the operation profitable. Why did no one tell me? Shame. Your grandfather eventually returned, pretended he had been working away to build fortune. The family myth began. Rose went along to protect her children's futures. Grace added quietly. Eleanor always said the house would return to a Morrison woman eventually, someone who needed saving like Rose had. That's why she left the note. She knew. She knew your family's patterns, watched your father grow up entitled, forgetting where salvation came from, saw your mother's grasping nature. But you, Martha smiled, you reminded her of young Rose, working hard, saving money, trying to build something despite family opposition. How did she know about me? I told her, I'm friends with Janet next door. We've all been watching, hoping you'd break free. The conspiracy of elderly women protecting me from beyond the grave was almost too much. I touched the photos of my grandmother, so young, so desperate, finding shelter here. There's more, Martha said. The real reason your family can't claim this house. She pulled out a legal document, yellowed but official. Deed transfer, 1943. Rose Morrison signed away all family claims to the property in exchange for Eleanor forgiving significant debts. What debts? 2 years of rent, food, shelter, loans for the children's schooling. Eleanor never demanded payment, but Rose insisted on formal release. Said she didn't want her children coming back greedy when they forgot their hungry years. She predicted this. Both women did. They knew how prosperity corrupts memory. That's why Eleanor left the house to the county instead of family. She was waiting for the right Morrison to come back, one who understood struggle. I stared at the signature. Rose Morrison's careful script, legally binding, preventing exactly what my family was attempting now. Do they know about this? Your father might suspect. He heard stories as a child before your grandfather shut them down, but proof only in this box. Why show me now? Martha and Grace exchanged looks. Because they're escalating. Grace works at the courthouse. The genealogist your family hired is getting close to discovering Rose lived here. Without context, it might support their claims. But with this document, their case collapses entirely. Rose explicitly relinquished Morrison claims. Your purchase is clean. I held the paper like spun gold, the truth that would end my family's legal harassment, but also the truth that would destroy their last mythology. There's one more thing, Grace said gently. Mother thinks you should know everything before deciding what to do. Martha pulled out a final letter, this one in Eleanor's handwriting, dated just months before her death. To the Morrison who saves my house. If you're reading this, then Martha has judged you worthy of truth. Your grandmother Rose was the finest woman I knew. Proud, hardworking, devoted to her children despite their father's abandonment. We survived together when the world collapsed, finding family in friendship rather than blood. But survival changes people. Rose's children grew up forgetting hunger, embarrassed by their mother's struggles. They rewrote history, making her dependence into their father's success. She died believing she'd failed them by showing weakness. She didn't fail. They failed her by choosing comfortable lies over uncomfortable truth. I promised Rose I'd watch over her descendants. Most disappointed me, valuing appearance over substance. But Martha tells me one granddaughter saves money, works hard, dreams practically. Perhaps your Rose returned ready to reclaim what was always spiritually yours. This house saved your grandmother. Let it save you. Then decide what truth serves best, the one that ends lawsuits or the one that preserves your family's dignity. Choose wisely. Rose would understand either path. With love across time, Eleanor Whitman. I read it twice, then once more. The weight of generations of women's choices settling on my shoulders. What would you do? I asked Martha. I'm not Rose's granddaughter, but Eleanor always said mercy matters more than justice. Your family's destroying themselves without your help. Adding humiliation might be too much. Or it might be what they need to finally change. That too, Grace agreed. Sometimes rock bottom has basements. We talked for 2 hours. Stories of Eleanor and Rose, the bootlegging years, the children who grew up in this house, then rejected its history. Martha painted a picture of 2 women who'd saved each other, only to watch the next generation erase their bond. Rose would visit even after moving out, Martha remembered. Your grandfather hated it, said it reminded people of their unfortunate period, eventually banned her from coming. So she never saw the renovations, the prosperity her struggle enabled. She saw it from the street sometimes. Eleanor would watch her standing outside both women, pretending not to notice each other. Broke Eleanor's heart. And now I'm inside while my family stands outside. Patterns repeating, but you can break them. That document gives you power to end this cleanly. After they left, I sat surrounded by evidence of my grandmother's erased years. Young Rose smiling in the garden she'd tended for food. My father as a baby in Eleanor's arms, the legal release that would destroy my family's claims. Madison arrived for our planned restoration work, finding me still processing. What's all this? I explained Martha's visit, showed her the photos, the letter, the devastating legal document. She studied our grandmother's young face with wonder. She was beautiful and brave. And forgotten, written out of history because poverty embarrassed her children. What are you going to do? What would you do? Madison considered carefully. 6 weeks ago, I'd have said destroy them. Use it immediately, but now? She touched our grandmother's photo. They're destroying themselves already. Do we need to add this humiliation? Tyler's going to prison. Mom and Dad are divorcing. The house is gone. Maybe truth would help them heal. Or push them over the edge entirely. We worked in contemplative silence, fixing what the thieves had damaged. The house felt different now, knowing my grandmother had sheltered here. Every room held her presence, her children's footsteps, her friendship with Eleanor. You know what I think, Madison said eventually. I think you should hold it in reserve. Don't use it unless they force you. Give them a chance to drop the lawsuit gracefully. And if they don't, then they've chosen truth over dignity. Rose would understand defending yourself. That evening, I called James Hartley about the document. His professional excitement was palpable. This ends everything. Their entire case rests on historical investment claims. A signed release from the Morrison family matriarch, it's over. I don't want to use it unless necessary. Your call, but scan it, secure the original. This is your ace. I spent the night in the tower room where my grandmother had slept as a desperate young mother. The same views she'd seen, the same walls that had sheltered her. The murder house's true history sanctuary for women's society abandoned. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Dad. For the first time in weeks, I called back. Dianne. He sounded surprised. I didn't expect... Drop the lawsuit, Dad. I can't. Your mother won't? Drop it, or I'll reveal why. Grandmother Rose lived here as Eleanor's charity case for 2 years. I have proof, photos, letters, and a legal document where she signed away all Morrison claims to the house. Silence so long I thought we disconnected. You're lying. July 1941 through September 1943. Tower room, you were 3. His breathing grew ragged. How could you know that? Eleanor kept records. Her best friend Martha kept more. Did you know grandmother signed a formal release of all claims? Or that you played in this house as a child while your mother worked the bootlegging operation to feed you? Stop! Drop the lawsuit. Tell Mom whatever story saves face. But end this, or everyone will know the Morrison fortune was built on charity, not cleverness. You'd humiliate your own father. You humiliated your own daughter for $900, but I'm offering mercy grandmother never got. Take it. I need to think. Monday morning, decision time, choose wisely. I hung up feeling powerful and sick. The truth was a weapon I'd never wanted to wield, but they'd forced my hand by trying to steal my sanctuary. In the distance, sirens wailed through the night. Someone else's crisis, someone else's tragedy. But here in Eleanor's house in Rose's refuge, I was safe. Protected by the truth women had preserved across generations, waiting for the right Morrison to need it. Tomorrow would bring either peace or war. But tonight I had clarity. The murder house had one more secret to reveal the real history that could murder my family's mythology, once and for all. I touched my grandmother's photo one more time before bed. I hope I'm making you proud, Rose. You and Eleanor both. The house settled around me with approving sounds. 3 women across, time-bound by survival and secrets, the past protecting the present truth, waiting to defend against lies. Whatever Monday brought, I was ready. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that made everything feel possible. I'd spent the weekend preparing for war or peace, unsure which my father would choose. The Historical Society had fast-tracked my application and approval was expected any day. Mark's crew had repaired the break-in damage. Life was moving forward despite family chaos. At 9 sharp, my lawyer called. Your father's attorney contacted me. They're withdrawing the lawsuit. Just like that. Apparently, there were family considerations that made proceeding inadvisable. You wouldn't know anything about that. I might have mentioned some historical facts they'd forgotten. Well, whatever you said worked. Papers will be filed today. It's over. Relief flooded through me. The document proving Rose's debt would stay private. My family's dignity, what remained of it, was preserved. By noon, something unexpected was happening. Cars lined Maple Street more than usual for a Monday. Janet from next door appeared at my gate with a camera crew. Local news is here. The Historical Society called them about your restoration. They want to feature the house on the evening segment. Today. They heard about the break-in, the bootlegging history, your whole story. It's perfect human interest. Young woman saves historical house despite family opposition. I don't know. Oh, honey, this is wonderful publicity. The whole neighborhood's excited. Mrs. Chen baked cookies for the crew. Before I could object, the scene exploded into orchestrated chaos. Reporters, cameras, neighbors gathering to watch. The murder house's moment in the spotlight. The reporter, a polished woman named Sandra Martinez, walked me through easy questions about the restoration. Mark appeared to discuss structural improvements. The Historical Society president praised my preservation efforts. It felt surreal. Now we understand there's been some family drama around this property. Sandra's eyes gleamed with the scent of scandal. Every family has its challenges. I'm focused on the house's future, not past conflicts. But they tried to claim ownership after you'd bought it. Misunderstandings happen. It's resolved now. I kept answers diplomatic, protecting the family that had tried to destroy me. Rose's mercy flowing through generations. Then unexpected movement in the crowd, Madison pushing forward but not alone. Dad stood beside her, looking uncomfortable but determined. "Could we speak?" he asked quietly, aware of the cameras. "On camera, actually. We have something to say." Sandra nearly vibrated with excitement. "Of course, family reconciliation, live on air." "Not reconciliation," Dad corrected. "Truth." The cameras rolled as my father faced them with principal posture, finding his authority one last time. "I'm William Morrison, Diane's father. 3 weeks ago, our family made terrible mistakes. We tried to force Dianne to fund her sister's retreat instead of buying this house. When she refused, we retaliated." Gasps from the crowd. Madison stepped forward. "I'm Madison Morrison. The retreat was a scam. If Dianne had paid that money, would have gone to criminals who disappeared. Her saying no saved me from giving them even more." "Our family's behavior has been inexcusable," Dad continued. "Harassment, false accusations, attempting to claim property that was never ours. We let greed and desperation turn us into people we don't recognize." "Why are you saying this now?" Sandra asked, sensing Pulitzer potential. "Because Dianne could have destroyed us with information she discovered. Instead, she offered mercy. The least we can do is offer truth." "What information?" Dad glanced at me, asking permission. I nodded slightly. "Our family fortune wasn't built on business acumen. It was built on charity from Eleanor Whitman, who sheltered my mother during the Depression. We forgot where we came from, thought we were better than our history," Dianne remembered. "She bought this house with money she earned herself, saved herself, and it's hers. We have no claims, legal or moral." The crowd stood silent, processing this reversal. Then Mrs. Chen started clapping. Others joined until the street filled with applause for truth finally told. "One more thing," Dad said. "Tyler, our son, is going to prison for embezzlement and gambling debts. His choices led to criminals robbing this house. We enabled his behavior for years. That ends now." "And Mom?" I asked quietly, but the cameras caught it. "Your mother?" He paused. "She's getting help. Therapy for shopping addiction, accepting the bankruptcy. We're divorcing, but trying to do it with dignity. What's left of it?" Sandra turned to me. "Ms. Morrison, how do you feel about your family's confession?" "Proud. It takes courage to admit fault publicly. They're choosing truth over comfortable lies. That's growth." "Will you reconcile?" I looked at Dad and Madison. "Reconciliation takes time, but this is a good start." The interview wrapped with footage of the house, the restoration work, the community that had embraced me. A story of resurrection rather than revenge. As the crew packed up, Dad approached hesitantly. "Thank you for not using the document. Martha Hartwell called me last night, explained everything. I barely remembered living here, but once she said it, memories flooded back." "Good memories." "The best. Your grandmother singing while cooking. Eleanor teaching me letters. Safety when the world was frightening." His eyes glistened. "We threw away our real history for a prettier lie. It's not thrown away, just buried. Can be recovered if you want." "I want." He looked at the house with new eyes. "Could I visit sometime? Not live here, just remember?" "We'll see. Trust needs rebuilding." Madison had been filming the crowd with her phone, already adapting to modern media. "This is going viral. Family admits trying to destroy daughter over haunted house." "You're trending." "Great. Internet fame." "Good internet fame. People love redemption stories." The crowd dispersed slowly, neighbors congratulating me, sharing their own family dysfunction stories. The murder house had become a symbol of surviving toxic relationships. Mark's crew used the chaos to unveil their latest discovery, a hidden compartment in the parlor containing vintage photographs of the house's construction. Original 1890 images showing the building process, including one of a young Black woman directing workers. "That's Amelia Freeman," the Historical Society president gasped. "She was one of the first Black architects in Ohio. We've been looking for evidence of her work for decades." Another layer of hidden history. A woman architect when such things barely existed, designing the house that would shelter desperate women across centuries. The murder house kept revealing its true nature sanctuary for the overlooked and abandoned. By evening, the news segment had aired 3 times. My phone exploded with messages from strangers, praising my restraint, my family's honesty, the house's beauty. Publishers wanted the story. Documentary makers called. The murder house had gone from local curiosity to national interest in hours. Madison stayed for dinner, helping me process the surreal day. "Dad meant it," she said. "The apology." He cried all the way home. "What about Mom?" "Sir, she's processing. Therapy's helping. She watched the news from her lawyer's office. Said you looked beautiful, that the house looked beautiful, then cried for an hour. And Tyler? Starts serving his sentence next month. He wrote you a letter, asked me to give it to you when you're ready." "Not yet." Fair, but Dianne today changed everything. Dad admitting the truth publicly, that wasn't just about the house. It was about choosing reality over reputation for the first time in his life. "Think it will stick." "I hope so. I'm tired of pretending we're perfect. Real is harder but better." She left with promises to help catalog the architect photos. Alone again, I climbed to the tower room, my grandmother's refuge, my sanctuary now. The street below buzzed with excitement still, neighbors walking by just to see the famous murder house now revealed as something entirely different. A freedom house, a truth house, a survival house. My phone rang, an unknown number with a familiar area code. Mom's voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. "I saw the news." "Hi, Mom." "The house is beautiful. You're beautiful. What we did is past. Question is what happens next." "I don't know. I've been so wrong about so much. The boutique, the spending the way I treated you. 20,000 in credit card debt for clothes I wore once, while you saved every penny for something real." Admitting the problem is the first step. "Your father told me about the document, about his mother living there. Is it true?" "Yes, Grandmother Rose lived here for 2 years as Eleanor's guest. They survived the Depression together. And you could have destroyed us with that information, but didn't. What would be the point? You're already facing consequences." "I'm proud of you." The words came out rushed like she'd been holding them back, not for the house or the money or being right, for being merciful when we weren't. "Thank you." Would you let me see it sometime? The house, not to take anything or cause problems, just to see what you've built. When you're ready, when I'm ready, but yes, eventually. "I love you, Dianne. I know I've shown it badly, but I do." "I love you too, Mom." She hung up quickly, probably crying. The great Morrison family reduced to tears and truth, but somehow more real than they'd ever been. I stood in my tower watching the sun set over Maple Street. 3 weeks ago, I'd bought a murder house with money my family tried to steal. Now it was a historical landmark. My family was choosing honesty, and the future stretched with possibility. The house creaked around me, satisfied sounds of survival. Eleanor and Rose's legacy lived on sheltering another generation of women who received to accept what they were given. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, everything had reversed. The family who tried to destroy me had destroyed themselves instead, only to find redemption in confession. The murder house had murdered nothing but lies. In the distance, camera crews were packing up. The story they'd tell wasn't the one they'd expected. Not family drama and bitterness, but transformation and truth. The reversal was complete, and it was beautiful. 6 months later, spring arrived at the Whitman house like a kept promise. That's what the historical marker called it, now the official name recognizing Eleanor's legacy rather than rumors of murder. The gardens bloomed with heritage vegetables from seeds the Historical Society had provided the same varieties Rose and Eleanor had grown for survival. I stood on the wrap-around porch greeting visitors for our first official tour day. The house had become a living museum with regularly scheduled visits that helped fund ongoing restoration. Mark's crew had worked miracles aided by 2 preservation grants and countless volunteer hours from neighbors who'd adopted the house as their own. Was welcome to the Whitman House, I said to the gathered group. Built in 1890, designed by architect Amelia Freeman, this home has sheltered generations of families through America's most challenging times. The tour moved through rooms now restored to period glory, but still lived in. Eleanor's furniture gleamed with care. The bootlegging museum in the basement drew gasps and laughter. The tower room, set up as it might have looked when Rose lived there, brought tears to several visitors' eyes. The house's true history, I explained, isn't about murder or haunting. It's about women helping women survive, about friendship transcending hardship, about choosing truth over comfortable lies. In the group, I spotted familiar faces. Janet from next door often brought friends to tours. Mrs. Chen had become our unofficial hospitality director, providing cookies and stories. And there in the back, Madison stood with someone new. After the tour, she introduced him. "This is Robert. We met at work. He's in management training, too." Robert shook my hand with genuine warmth. "Madison talks about you constantly, how you saved her from herself." She saved herself. I just refused to enable the alternative. Still, Madison glowed with health and confidence. 6 months of honest work had transformed her. I owe you everything. You owe yourself everything. I just held up a mirror. They wandered the gardens while other visitors explored. The donation box by the door filled steadily, not enough to fund everything, but combined with my job and rental income from the renovated carriage house, the house sustained itself. Knock, knock, Mark appeared in the doorway. Ready for the surprise. He'd been secretive all week, working on something in the locked parlor. Now he threw open the doors with a flourish. Inside, a complete recreation of Eleanor's Prohibition-era office, ledgers reproduced from surviving fragments, photographs enlarged and framed, even a reproduction of the desk where she'd run her empire. But the centerpiece was a painted portrait, Eleanor and Rose together, young and determined, surrounded by the symbols of their survival. "How did you—" Martha provided photo references. Local artists donated her time. The Historical Society funded materials. Everyone wanted to contribute. I touched the portrait gently. 2 women who'd saved each other stared back, finally receiving the recognition they deserved. No more hidden history. Their story was public, proud, permanent. "There's more," Mark said. "Check your email." I pulled out my phone, finding a message from a publisher. The book proposal I'd submitted about the house's history had been accepted, advanced enough to fund the next phase of restoration. "You're going to be an author," Madison said, reading over my shoulder. "We're going to be authors. I want you to write the chapter about family dynamics and recovery." "Me, but I'm not a writer." "Neither was I 6 months ago. We're all more than we knew." The afternoon brought steady visitors, including some unexpected ones. Dad arrived alone carrying a box. "I've been cleaning out the old house here," he said. "Found these in the attic." Inside, photographs of Rose. I'd never seen documents from her life after leaving Eleanor's house, even her diary from the desperate years. He'd been excavating our real history piece by piece. Mom found them years ago, wanted to throw them out. I hid them instead. Couldn't say why then. Now I know. "How is Mom?" "Better. Therapy twice a week. Got a job at a nonprofit helping people with shopping addiction. Turns out hitting bottom qualified her to help others avoid it." "And you?" "Teaching part-time, substitute principal work. Less money, but more satisfaction. Living in a small apartment, learning to cook." He smiled ruefully. "Being broke teaches what being comfortable never could." We sat on the porch, father and daughter, watching tourists discover the house. The Morrison family empire had crumbled, but from its ashes, individuals were emerging. "Tyler gets out in 4 years," he said quietly. Good behavior prison education programs. He's studying accounting. Says he wants to help people understand money instead of stealing it. People change. You changed us by refusing to play our games, by succeeding despite our sabotage. The house changed me first, gave me something worth fighting for. He left the box of family history, promising to visit again soon. Small steps towards something that might become relationship again, built on truth this time. As sunset approached the final tour of the day, prepared to leave. But one visitor lingered, an elderly man with careful movements and kind eyes. I'm James Whitman, he introduced himself. Eleanor's great-nephew. I live in California, but I had to come see what you've done with her house. I hope it honors her memory. It exceeds it. He looked around with wonder. She used to write me letters about this place, how it saved her family, how she hoped it would save others. You've made that hope reality. He pulled out an envelope. She left this for whoever finally restored the house. My mother kept it, then me. 70 years I've held on to it, waiting. Inside, Eleanor's handwriting shaky with age. To the keeper of my house. If you're reading this, then the house chose correctly. You've seen past rumors to truth valued history over profit, chosen preservation over destruction. The house will have tested you. Family probably, money certainly, the temptation to sell to developers to take easy profit over hard restoration. But you stayed, you saved it. Know this, you stand in a line of women who chose survival over surrender. From Amelia, who designed it, to me, who preserved it, to Rose, who found refuge in it, to you, who restored it. We are connected across time through these walls. The house is yours, but you belong to it too. Shelter others as you were sheltered. Tell the truth when lies seem easier. Choose mercy when justice beckons. Build family from those who earn it, not just those born to it. Welcome home, Keeper. You were always meant to be here. With love eternal, Eleanor Whitman. I read it through tears, then shared it with James. We stood together, strangers, bound by Eleanor's faith in the future. She was right, he said softly. You were meant to be here. The last tour departed as stars appeared. I locked the doors, checked the windows, and climbed to my tower room. 6 months since the family dinner that started everything. The girl who'd saved $900 in secret had become a woman who owned a historical landmark, wrote books, and chose her own family. Through the wavy glass, Maple Street stretched peaceful and perfect. Lights glowed in neighbors' windows. Madison and Robert walked hand in hand past the garden gate. Somewhere across town, my parents were learning to live with truth instead of facades. The murder house that had never murdered anyone had saved us all in different ways. Madison from fantasy, my parents from delusion, Tyler from freedom that enabled destruction, and me from a life of being used instead of valued. My phone buzzed with messages, tour bookings for next weekend, interview requests about the book, Madison sending funny videos, Mark planning the next restoration phase. A life full of chosen connections earned success and daily joy. But I had one more task. I opened my laptop and began typing. Dear Tyler, Madison says you're ready for me to read your letter. I'm finally ready to receive it. Prison mail takes time, so I'll start our correspondence. The house you mocked is thriving. The family you helped destroy is rebuilding. The sister you tried to rob forgives you. Not because you deserve it yet, but because holding anger serves no one. You have 4 years to become someone worth knowing. I have 4 years to continue becoming myself. Write when you're ready. Tell me who you're becoming, not who you were. The house that's sheltered so many can shelter your words too when they're honest. Your sister Dianne. I sealed the letter, addressed it to the facility where Tyler was learning consequences. Tomorrow, I'd mail it along with applications for more grants, contracts for house rentals, and plans for expanding tours. But tonight, I sat in Rose's room, Eleanor's gift, my sanctuary. The murder house lived on murdering only the myths that had trapped us all. In their place grew truth messy and painful, but ultimately healing. The house settled around me with contented sounds. Wood adjusting to temperature pipes, carrying water walls standing strong. The bones Eleanor had trusted now trusted to me. I thought about the viewers of that news segment, the readers of the coming book, the tourists who'd walk these halls. How many were trapped in their own family myths? How many needed to see that choosing yourself over dysfunction was possible? Thank you, I whispered to the walls, to Eleanor, to Rose, to all the women who'd survived here before me. Thank you for showing me the way home. The stars wheeled overhead, constant as the house beneath them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new victories, new stories to tell. But tonight, everything was exactly as it should be. The Whitman house stood proud on Maple Street, no longer abandoned, no longer ashamed. Like its current keeper, it had faced the worst and emerged stronger. Murder house, no more. It was simply home. And that was enough. That was everything. In the comments below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own dreams? What gave you the strength to choose yourself? If this story resonated with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear that. Choosing themselves isn't selfish, it's necessary. Like and subscribe for more stories about finding strength in unexpected places. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, sometimes the family that raises you isn't the family that raises you up. Find your Eleanor, be someone else's Rose, and never apologize for building your own sanctuary. Until next time, may you find the courage to write your own story, not the one others expect you to live.